There is now talk of riot police meeting protesters at certain towns affected by incoming illegal aliens. But how much is hyperbole, and where are the facts about what's happening on the ground? Those local governments are among a growing trend of lawmakers and decision makers who have reached their endpoint waiting for Washington. We'll talk with someone who has been at ground level and notes this growing frustration. And while Wall Street celebrates the breaking of another barrier, is it really any serious indicator of where your money is heading? Join us as the fastest 3 hours in news heads for answers as we question everything from Monday, July 7th, 2014. And while it may be a few days past the American birthday, we need to take the words of one iconic song and one pledge to put into perspective what has been happening inside our borders these last few weeks. Telling it like it is, that's later on this hour. First, let's get the latest in this Newsmax Now update from John Bachman.
Thank you, Ed. New statements from the Ukrainian government claim rebel fighters are upping their presence along the Ukrainian border. This less than 24 hours since those same officials said pro-Russian separatists have retreated from a key area that they once held. During a televised news conference earlier today, the head of Ukraine's border control said the guards continue to be attacked by rebel fighters. According to officials, Russian military equipment, including tanks, and border, and officials fear the separatists may be preparing for more attacks. Meantime, pro-Russian troops regrouped last night in Donetsk, where thousands of supporters cheered the rebels and waved Russian flags. Fighters continue to plead for more support from Vladimir Putin, but there is no immediate response from Moscow. And now to the U.S. border, we turn our attention where dozens of sheriffs are refusing to keep undocumented inmates in prison while the federal government drags its heels on deportation proceedings.
Today, I'm announcing that effective at midnight tonight, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office will no longer honor U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detainers.
Well, the pushback started when a judge ruled that an immigrant's civil rights were violated when she was held in a county jail at the request of federal agents past her initial detention time. After the ruling, some sheriffs started refusing to hold certain illegal immigrants, and that means that non-citizen offenders are being released back out into the streets as soon as their time is officially served, instead of keeping them detained while Homeland Security moves ahead with those deportation proceedings. Also happening today in Mexico, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake has shaken part of that country near the border with Guatemala. The earthquake occurred early this morning. There are some initial reports of injuries, possibly deaths. We'll keep you updated to see what happens there. And there's also new focus now on the investigation into that 22-month-old child left in a hot car to die in Georgia. Police say attention has shifted now to the mother of that child after the father, Justin Ross Harris, left their baby in the back of his sweltering SUV on June 18th. According to reports, Leanna Harris also searched the internet for articles about children dying in hot cars, and authorities say her behavior following her son's death is suspicious, but she does not face any charges as of yet. So far, Leanna Harris has remained loyal to her husband of 7 years, who has been charged with second-degree child cruelty and felony murder. Prosecutors have also issued new warrants for the search and seizure of financial information, including credit card debt and life insurance policies. We're back with more news in 30 minutes.
This was the scene earlier today at Lindbergh Field in San Diego. One by one, many mothers carrying their babies were flanked by Border Patrol officers as they boarded buses for the 1-hour drive to Murrieta. Here they were greeted by angry protesters, furious, they say, by what they call Refuge Mall City. They blocked streets, waved flags, and squared off with immigration advocates as tempers flared. Police stood between buses and protesters as the vehicles turned around, headed back on a freeway towards San Diego.
For most of America, it is an isolated issue and one that will likely never directly impact them. Now, that in truth is somewhat myopic and perhaps a little dangerous. For the pot that is simmering at border towns in the American West and Southwest is turned up and about to blow, with the current administration at times seemingly willing to let it happen and then pick up the pieces. Let's dig to the reality. Let's welcome to MidPoint immigration policy analyst with San Diegans for Secure Borders Coalition, a nonpartisan gathering of grassroots civic and activist groups in the San Diego area. Rob Luton joins us on MidPoint. Rob, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Rob, on the ground, federal agents were planning to go to Marietta, Texas, or Marietta, California today with riot gear to ensure another busload made it to the housing facility. Can you bring us up to speed on what your group knows, what you know, and what may actually be happening on the ground?
You know, it's such a fluid situation. It changes by the moment. The Border Patrol has not been very generous with information. For example, on July 4th, they had told us that the buses would come to Marietta, and late in the day, they arrived in San Diego, and the buses were sent out to Chula Vista, which is in San Diego County. And so that potentially could happen again, or they could go to Marietta. I mean, there's really no way to know what the strategy is for the buses once they arrive at the San Diego airport.
As far as you know, then, you do not know of any riot gear, riot-armed police who are on the ground this time?
No. On July 4th, some county sheriff's officers had what would look like riot gear, but that was only because there were some Occupy movement people that started a little miniature melee, and they were apprehended. And that was it. For the most part, throughout the day, people on both sides of the issue were getting along fairly well. There was some, just a few people that were a little more, I guess you could call them bombastic or emotional. But for the most part, people were just waiting for the buses to arrive and see what would happen. Of course, on Tuesday of last week, the buses decided to turn around and head to San Ysidro, which is a border checkpoint, where the occupants on the bus were given food and processed at that location.
Rob, let me see Occupy people. Now, we've been seeing some video of some very irate citizens in Marietta, California. We have been seeing perhaps a little mild violence, if you will, pushing and shoving, nothing that has gotten tremendously out of hand. Are you indicating to us that perhaps the people who are there demonstrating are not really all Marietta, California residents, but rather other people who are coming in from other places? And I'm going to use this phrase tacitly, if you will, trying to hijack this demonstration?
Not necessarily. I think people know that there's going to be, especially on July 4th, there was such a play-up compared to Tuesday, which was more spontaneous and I think was probably more just local people. And then after that initial event on Tuesday of last week, there was a pretty good play-up going into Friday, which is, of course, it was a holiday and people are not working. And so there was media from all over the region and national media. And so I do think there were probably a dozen or so different groups that were there to try to make a point about something. And so you had a few of those people up on the side of the road near the Border Patrol station. So to answer your question, no, they weren't necessarily hijacking the reason people were there, but they were trying to make a statement.
How concerned are you that there apparently may be some militia members or self-proclaimed militia members who are there? And again, we go down to reports we have heard over the weekend that there were militias from other areas of the country, some based out of Texas, who were looking to make the trip and perhaps be part of this. Doesn't that make you pause a little bit and perhaps talk to the people that you speak with and say everybody's got to be very careful here, because that would seem to me and to a lot of people to be a potential flashpoint where something very violent could happen in a flash?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point to make. And rallies, we do not organize them. We do not attend them on a regular basis. What we did, and the reason we decided to attend on July 4th, was really to show support for the residents of Marietta, who by and large are the ones that are there. 90% of them are from southern Riverside County, Marietta, Temecula, because these individuals will be eventually released into that region that are coming through Texas and shipped over to Marietta. And so I did not see anyone that fit that description that you mentioned from Texas. They would not be welcome. That's not something we want to take part in. In fact, we've done our best to keep people out of the coalition that represent any kind of fringe belief system. Our strategy is more to develop a coherent, strategic policy recommendations and give them to elected officials and their staff, because the reason all of this is happening in Marietta, it's a failure of policy. It's not because of children. The children, overwhelmingly, are innocent in this whole. They're being used almost as pawns in a chess game, and it's really the policy of changing the law in 2012, where children who are not from Canada or Mexico, will not be deported as long as they turn themselves in and say that they have a family member here. They will not be deported. And so that law has to be changed in Washington. And if it does, it will equip the Border Patrol to turn these people around and send them back to the country of origin.
However, Rob, let's look at this with what you call strategic policy recommendations. Is it not fair to say that you can come up with all the wonderful recommendations you can at this point? Any group can. You can ask elected officials to take it to Washington. You can ask them to do something. But we are dealing with an issue that is now and today. Any policy recommendations will take weeks, months, and perhaps even years to plow its way through Washington, D.C. So in essence, there is no real immediate answer for this. It is going to be, if you look at it in that single day, there's nothing to stop this.
Well, you're partially right. They could change that law. You know, that's something that could be done. You're probably right, though. It probably will not be done. But the other reason that the people were coming, and this is why so many people come illegally from all over the world, and that is that word spreads into these countries that you can get into the United States and stay and get benefits. And the likelihood of deportation once you're in the interior part of the nation is very slim. And so the integrity of our immigration laws have been reduced to almost nothing. The integrity of the border is very poor. It's a very porous border once you go east of San Diego County, where very little fencing exists. And so until you reestablish integrity on the border and integrity in our immigration laws, so the Border Patrol is not a masculine job and deport people, and that word trickles down into some of these Central American countries that it's not tolerable to enter a country illegally. Until that happens, we're probably going to see this ebb and flow. Of people coming in through Texas.
Then what
which
can
is very
be done?
Unfortunate.
Then what can be done now is the question that people on both sides are asking and are not getting any answers to. I know that, again, you're not an elected official. You can't conduct policy here. But what is the answer right now, today?
Right now. Great. That's a great question, and we have an answer for you. The governors of these border states and Republican members of Congress can put an enormous amount of pressure on the administration to change some of these policies, and they can change some of these laws immediately. It's not unprecedented to do that. If you take President Obama at his word, he has said that he wants this law changed so that the Border Patrol would have the ability, if you take him at his word, to be able to begin to deport these people as they. It's a lot of rhetoric, and there's a lot of people kind of measuring this whole thing to see how it's going to play out politically, in terms of not only the election coming up this year, but in 2016. And so there's a lot of moving parts. But in the end, it's an American tragedy that people can violate our laws with impunity and then get benefits once they arrive, like education and health care and WIC and Head Start and HUD vouchers.
Then let me ask you this. I have about 30 seconds left. You mentioned governors. In 30 seconds or less, why is Governor Jerry Brown not taking action, in your opinion?
Because he's a liberal Democrat. He doesn't see it as a major problem. He sees it as a humanitarian issue where we should actually help these people. And it's like anything in life. What you reap, you sow. If you reward illegality and you reward the people that have broken the law, you'll get more of them. We have to incentivize doing it the right way, legally.
Have the voters told him what they want? Is he listening at all, in your opinion?
Oh, the voters in California, unfortunately, a majority of them will vote for people like Jerry Brown. So we have a demographic electorate now that supports people breaking the law. And that, too, is a whole separate issue, but a very unfortunate
Take it another time. Rob, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to speaking to you again. Be safe.
Thank you.
And be safe.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, now the question is, what is going on the ground? Someone who has been there and knows firsthand. That's next on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
Excuse me. What do you think you'd pay for this smartphone?
A few hundred.
That's top of the line. More like $425.
More like $9.
What? That's not possible.
It is on DealDash.com. See, DealDash.com is the fair and honest bidding site. This top-of-the-line laptop went for around $40.
That can't be.
Incredible.
I know. Everyone says it's too good to be true.
But it's true. DealDash.com gets people real savings every day, big savings. And if you're not satisfied, you get your money back. On DealDash.com, professional cameras sell for as low as $15. $50 gift cards go for $20. Laptops can be had for less than $10. And shipping is always free. It's perfect for gifts or just everyday necessities. Visit DealDash.com today and start bidding.
Is this from Deal Dash?
Uh-huh.
How much?
You don't want to know.
DealDash.com. See how much you can save.
Attention parents and grandparents of young children. Have you received this special notice from Gerber Life? If not, you're urged to call this toll-free number now because Gerber Life is accepting applications for their affordable grow-up plan. It's easy to help your child get off to a good financial start for just pennies a day. Free information will be sent to parents and grandparents who call now. Or you can apply right now over the phone if you'd like. The Grow Up Plan gives your child $10,000 in whole life insurance protection now, then doubles automatically to $20,000 later at no extra cost. Later on, your child can buy more, up to $100,000 in total protection, regardless of their health or job, 10 times the original amount. The Grow Up Plan also builds cash value over time that you can borrow from later. Help give your child a head start for just pennies a day. Don't wait. Call now for free information.
Call 1-800-417-7939. Call now for your free information or go to growupplan.com now.
Now on Newsmax TV. Does Ben Carson have a chance in 2016? Watch Newsmax TV on The Malsberg Show today and find out Dr. Carson's secret plan to win and how he can stop Hillary Clinton. Go now to Newsmax TV.
Hundreds more undocumented immigrants, many of them women and children, arrived this weekend by plane in San Diego and by bus in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Their fate is still uncertain as the government scrambles to house and process the sudden influx of illegal border crossers.
Take one quick peek at just the headlines directing your attention to the border and immigration issue. Here's what you see. Border breakdown. Obama either inept or doesn't care. Mothers crossing at an alarming rate. Two-time illegal immigrant charged with rape in Sanctuary City. And that's just at first glance. This country is in a crisis, and the look for leadership and real action is leaving many people on every side of the issue thinking there is simply no one awake at the switch. Doesn't make what side you're on. Doesn't make a difference. Let's welcome into MidPoint, specialist in cyber and homeland security policy for the Heritage Foundation, David Insera joins us today. David, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
There's the first question, David, and I'm going to hit you right between the eyes with it. Who's asleep at the switch here and who's running things? Because we're hearing the governors being blamed for not doing things. We're hearing the lawmakers being blamed in not taking action that could take months or years. So who is asleep at the switch here?
You know, I really think that the Obama administration is asleep at the switch here. We're looking at an administration which is not interested in enforcing our laws, and even in his announcement last week, President Obama announced that he was going to go it alone. He was going to use more executive action, more authority in DHS to enforce the laws in different ways, in ways that make less sense, especially when you consider what's going on at the border right now.
Okay, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here again, all right? If you have a president of any stripe who is sitting in office right now, who has a Congress, who has lawmakers, who are going back and forth and can't seem to decide something to do, where it is complete gridlock, doesn't it behoove him or her to take some kind of action, to do something to just snap this logjam?
Certainly, and if President Obama was willing to undo some of his own policies, I think we would see action. I think the problem is that President Obama wants to go further in the other direction. He wants to enforce the laws less and less. So we've got a crisis at the border, but his solution seems to be to do less rather than more.
Okay, why then go in the other direction?
Well, I think that we really need to go and enforce the laws more because it sends a message. It sets a precedent. Right now, when we're not enforcing our laws, it begets more illegal immigration. People down in Central America are hearing the message loud and clear that if you can come, be allowed to stay. And that's what we're seeing right now on the border. So by stopping illegal immigration, sending a clear message that it will not be tolerated and you will be deported, that's the most effective way to stop future illegal immigration.
David, what you're saying is true to the ears of many. We have heard this from a lot of folks. We're hearing this now for 2 weeks. What I think people want to hear as we continue to ask people like yourself and experts is what can be done right now? We have the president asking Congress for $2 billion, and there's a lot of people wondering where that money is coming from and where it's going to go. $2 billion in order to care for this problem right now. They want to know, first, before the money, why are the governors not taking any action? Why are the governors of Texas and California and Arizona and the border states not taking action immediately to do something and at least try to stem the tide, or at least help to care for these like Marietta? Their feeling is they're being overrun.
Yeah, no, it's certainly the case, and I think you are. Yeah, no, it's certainly the case, and I think you are seeing some action. States are trying, Texas and Arizona especially. I mean, you saw Arizona passed its immigration laws several years ago, only to be challenged in federal court. So it's not the states aren't trying; they are trying, which is that in many cases there's no substitute for federal action. Only the federal officers can initiate deportation proceedings and can completely, bring together all elements of society to protect the border. So really, we need the federal government to do more, and that means that we are going to have to look for ways to do things more effectively and efficiently.
David, is $2 billion going to help do something to stem this tide, or is this simply another politician throwing money at a problem without digging to the root of the issue?
I think it's probably the latter there. $2 billion is, we might need some more money to deal with the issue, but really it's how you spend the money, not necessarily just the amount of money you have. Right now, we're using the existing monies we have. We're using them to not enforce the law very well. President Obama we've got extra funding for Customs and Border Protection and ICE, but yet ICE doesn't enforce the law on many illegal immigrants because they're simply not viewed as priorities by this administration. So it's more how you use it, not necessarily how much funding you have.
Again, this always seems to be a linchpin here. The last guest that we had on, we talked a little bit about it, Robert Luton from the San Diegans for Secure Borders Coalition, and we talked about this action. Even he said the same thing. Things need to be done. We need to get Congress to do something. But is it not fair to say that whatever you do right now is going to take weeks, months, and years? So whatever action any elected official takes right now, unless it is executive action or some sort of, and I hate to use the phrase, but some sort of pen going to paper, that it simply will not make this problem go away. You are still going to have citizens of communities that are going to feel they're overrun, and you're still going to have immigrants pouring across the border and being put in temporary facilities, and the possibility of all sorts of crime going on at these temporary facilities.
It's, what you're saying is exactly right. We don't have many good immediate solutions. The best we can do right now is to probably take more action in the way of sending the long-term message. What can we do to stop the future flows of illegal immigrants? And the best way to do that is to send a clear message to them. Get rid of these executive actions like enforcement priorities and deferred action for childhood arrivals. These are only encouraging more illegal immigration. What we can do right now, though, is we can look at ways in which we can expedite the removal of these individuals, and maybe that is an area where hopefully one would hope that Republicans and Democrats can come together to solve this problem.
All right, now let's look at the humanitarian side of this, because it doesn't make a difference who you speak to. You will always hear somebody mention the fact that, in essence, we still have families, we still have young children at the core coming across the border right now and being put into temporary facilities. If you talk to the people who watch some of the different protests, for instance, in Marietta, California, you will hear people who will say how terrible it is. Do they not understand the humanitarian side of this? Do they have no human compassion? All right, now, from the perspective of you watching this, how do you answer that then? Because it seems as if there is anger, there is tremendous anger that is being pointed at these people who are looking for a better life, a better place to live, and there is no humanitarian side of America. This is the concept that some people are coming away from as they watch this video.
Sure. Well, in response to the humanitarian sort of crisis, I would once again come back to what has the Obama administration done that's created this predicament, especially down in Latin America. We've been talking about our borders right now, but what about down in Latin America? What's pushing these people out of their homes? Well, part of that is that the United States has been a fickle partner. We've stepped back from providing security assistance and cooperating with these countries, and now when these countries are overrun with drug cartels and other criminal organizations which make the streets incredibly unsafe, when these countries are overrun with these criminal elements, their people flee, and that's largely because the United States has stepped back from leading and cooperating with these countries, and so we also, in many ways, we're also to blame for that.
What really, though, could America do when you're talking about sovereign governments? And again, we're talking here about, for instance, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, places like this. You're talking about gangs and rampant crime. What could America actually be doing other than basically taking over their police force and saying this is the way to do it?
Sure. Well, obviously they are sovereign nations, and we're not advocating any sort of military action or intervening directly. But what many of these nations want, in fact, they're begging us for it, is for cooperation with us and security assistance money. We already do foreign aid, but unfortunately we're spending a lot of that money on areas which aren't very effective. We need to be putting that money towards security. These nations are incredibly stable, high levels of crime. The best use of that money would be to combat crime and transnational criminal organizations. But unfortunately, if anything, some in Congress and the Obama administration have curtailed that funding.
I have about a minute left here, and let me ask that with regard to all this money. You can send all the money to these countries, but you can't tell them how to spend it. It's almost like giving them cash and saying, here, use it. So in essence, aren't they really asking for more money and more money and more money, and we simply don't know how it's being spent, and it may not be spent properly at all? It's a waste.
We do have some control over the way that funding is spent, especially if we work through certain initiatives that allow us to focus just on security. Right now, what you're saying is more or less true. There is money that's being spent on development or food aid. So some of the money is being spent on those, and the effects, the results of that, that funding is much less clear. It's not as effective. It's not as an effective form of aid. So we do need to look at more specific forms of aid that enhance the security and our cooperation with these nations and their police forces. That way we can combat these criminal organizations and make these places safer and better places to live.
About 15 seconds. Do you fear we'll see violence at the border now as these groups all gather and the police get more?
But I know that immigration is a very passionate issue, and I just hope that cooler heads prevail. But we also allow Americans to use their right to speak their minds.
David and Sarah from the Heritage Foundation, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll do it again.
Thank you.
All right, a lot of this discussion goes as we keep hearing that there are groups, and there are vigilante groups, and there are other groups showing up at the border right now, and perhaps they are not there for the altruistic reasons to become part of whatever this demonstration is. That can be dangerous. Next up, sheriffs at the border pushing back against the feds, and a whole lot more from the pages of Newsmax.com.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh yes, and that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
Victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer caused by asbestos and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from over $18 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. Even if a loved one has passed due to mesothelioma or asbestos lung cancer, you may still be entitled to a cash award. Mesothelioma is a rare cancer caused by exposure to asbestos. Many victims were in the Navy, shipyards, or power plants, or worked in the construction, plumbing, insulation, or automotive trades. Many more were exposed in and around their homes. For nearly 30 years, we have successfully helped thousands of victims and families get the financial compensation they deserve. Someone has been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by exposure to asbestos.
Call 1-800
Exposure to asbestos.
Call 1-800-290-4243 now.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. MyBenefits811.com. At MyBenefits811.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other strategies we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At MyBenefits811.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says MyBenefits811.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. Tom now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's MyBenefits811 checks. That's MyBenefits811.com. MyBenefits811.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. The violence continues in Iraq. A suicide bomber rammed a vehicle packed with explosives into a checkpoint in a Baghdad Shia neighborhood. The blast killed 5 policemen and 3 civilians. A police officer said that 16 people were also wounded in the blast. It came a few hours after Iraq's deadlocked parliament announced it had postponed its next session until mid-August. The parliament's action means there won't be any progress in forming a new government that can confront the Sunni extremists, and their prime minister there, Nouri al-Maliki, continuing to refuse to step down amid pressure. Now in Boston, a friend of the alleged accomplice in the marathon bombing will appear in a Boston courtroom later today. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's friend is accused of taking evidence, including a backpack full of fireworks. Prosecutors say Tsarnaev's college friend obstructed justice and hindered a federal investigation. If convicted, the 20-year-old could face up to 25 years in prison. He has pleaded not guilty to those obstruction and conspiracy charges. Tsarnaev, the main suspect accused of carrying out the bombing, is expected to go to trial later this year in November. I'm John Bachman. We're back with more news at the top of the hour.
Well, the Newsmax mothership is on the job, as are sheriffs along the border, the feds with regard to your medical records, and a whole lot more. Welcome in managing editor Tim Colley for a peek inside the headlines. Tim, good Monday, my friend.
Hey,
I hope you had a wonderful July 4th. Excellent, excellent. You had a good 4th? Nice and safe?
Yeah,
okay,
very good. How was yours?
All right. Calm, casual. Let's put it that way. That's always the best way to have a 4th of July holiday. Let's go ahead and get right to the Newsmax website. Top of the line right now. Things are changing, of course, on a minute-by-minute basis. Democrats brace to defend Obamacare rate hikes. I think we have seen this coming.
We have. There's some big decisions coming down this week, too, possibly. A court case that could blow a hole in the Obamacare subsidies. Everybody's keeping an eye on that. It's coming out of a federal appeals court as early as tomorrow. But these rates are set to drop. People are going to start getting them in the mail, and midterms are in November, so it's not coming at a good time at all for the Democrats.
And what we're talking about is 2015 health insurance premium rate hikes, which I think is something, of course, that the administration would like to keep buried as long as possible.
Yeah, they want to keep them buried, but they're going to literally show up on your computer and show up in your mail, so it's going to be very difficult. I mean, you know, some people are going to get some real surprises.
Here's a no surprise, of course. Next up on the Newsmax website, administration dodges questions on child illegals. You have to keep asking yourself, Tim, how long can they continue to dodge questions? Because the questions it's the same questions over and over again, and it's the same dodging answers over and over again.
Yeah, and it's a very simple question. In this case, Jay Johnson was on Meet the Press yesterday, and it was just embarrassing to watch. The question was simply, when are you going to deport these children? And he couldn't give you an answer. He couldn't say if they were going to deport them, how they were going to deport them, or when they were going to deport them. But the law and the framework makes it clear these kids are likely to be here for a very long time.
Next up, Lieutenant Colonel Peters, Islamic militants aim for universal kingdom. It's I did a double take when I saw the word universal kingdom. I thought it was an amusement park there for a minute. This is no amusement park whatsoever. I mean, but this is when you talk about the caliphate and everything else that they are looking to accomplish here. This is pretty much along the lines of what we would have expected.
Yeah, and the brutality coming out of there in reports is just medieval. I mean, beheadings and everything else. The leader of this group, known as ISIS, which now calls themselves the Islamic State, did come out on Ramadan and gave a speech and was for the first time seen in a video, and everyone seems to think it's actually him. They've got the ground. They're very entrenched. They cover an area roughly the size of New England, and they're not going away.
One thing here that caught my attention rather quickly on the website, we always are talking about immigration here today. It's the biggest story right now that everybody is talking about. This was interesting. An analyst saying that 300 border agents are in a corruption probe. Now, I've got to be honest with you. People are going to be saying, how do we trust the Border Patrol if we now hear that there are corrupt Border Patrol agents out there? This is a little bit of a blockbuster for them.
Well, it's not it's not a big surprise. It's certainly not a slur cast against all Border Patrol agents, but they got a tough job. They're dealing with illegals, which has been the focus of attention for a while now, for the last several weeks. But don't forget, there are drug cartels that are moving huge amounts of money. The temptation is enormous, probably bigger than it is in any kind of other law enforcement in the United States.
All right, Tim Colley from the Newsmax website. Thank you so much, Tim. We'll check with you on Tuesday, find out what the top stories are.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Ed.
All right. One other story that we did not get to, unfortunately, that I happened to see on the website. I just want to scroll to it. This is the Islamic leader of ISIS who showed up in a video, either a Rolex or an Omega. Depends which one he was wearing, of course. Stick around. We've got a lot more right after this American Moment.
It's a region of the world that has known little peace since the beginnings of recorded history. But in September of 1978, President Sadat of Egypt, Prime Minister Begin of Israel, and President Carter of the United States set out to change that. Initiated by the Egyptian leader's proclamation that he would be willing to travel anywhere, even Jerusalem, to seek peace, President Carter persuaded the two former enemies to meet with him at Camp David to seek a lasting peace. On the 17th of September, 1978, the Camp David Accords were signed, returning the Sinai to Egypt and creating a framework by which Palestinians could have autonomous and self-governing control over the West Bank and Gaza. President Carter was clear more work needed to be done.
The questions that have brought warfare and bitterness to the Middle East for the last 30 years will not be settled overnight.
In 1978, President Anwar Sadat and Prime Minister Menachem Begin were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Jimmy Carter's Nobel Prize would come later in 2002 for his decades of work seeking solutions to international conflicts. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
US Med has great news for anyone living with diabetes.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, US Med will ship a new glucose meter right to your home.
And shipping is free.
My new meter uses only a speck of blood, so it's less painful than my previous meter.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, you're covered with US Med. We're welcoming new patients, even if your current provider can't supply you anymore.
I don't even have to test on my fingers anymore. I can test on my hand or forearms, and it's more accurate than my old meter.
So call US Med today, and you'll have a choice of 2 great meters.
One that actually speaks your results, or a meter so small it fits on the bottle of strips.
Act now, and US Med Card. We'll also send you a free diabetes cookbook. This is your opportunity.
So call US Med today.
You'll be glad you did.
Hi, I'm Mike Reagan. If you think the worst of Obamacare is behind us, think again. Soon its new rules will affect every business, every insured person, and every Medicare recipient. That's why you need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's easy to read, the fastest way for you to understand this law. The Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the tips, loopholes, and strategies you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need to get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and already more than 500,000 Americans have gotten their copy. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. The Obamacare Survival Guide is at bookstores everywhere, or cent special offer and save $15 off the cover price. Just go online now or call us. Just go online now or call us today.
My name is Ed Berliner. I'm a host and a news anchor here at Newsmax. This country is desperate for a new voice to speak to that new generation that wants to know it all. Don't give me just half the story. Don't give me a piece of it. Let me get it all. Every single day, when people come to Newsmax, they're going to get an entire story. A new voice, a new generation. Newsmax TV.
Job creation is broad-based. You look at the sectors where you have the most growth, professional and business services. These are, architects and accountants and, middle and upper middle class jobs.
We'd like to see more people making more money. Average hourly earnings essentially flat in this report, and there's a lot of ground to make up from the damage that occurred during the financial crisis and the recession.
We have made enormous strides thanks to the incredible hard work of the American people and American businesses that have been out there competing.
All right, we've all heard this phrase in one form or another, seeking the American dream. While to some that means getting more than 300,000 hits on their Sleepy Cat YouTube video, it means something much more serious to anyone looking at their paycheck and wondering where all those dollars really went. I mean, the Fed is involved here, naturally, so is Wall Street, so you have to make sense of it. Because if you look what has come out of Wall Street recently, the Bureau of Labor Statistics had a very strong jobs report last week. 288,000 jobs were added in June. That's more than the 215,000 the economists were saying would happen. The unemployment rate, here's another good point to some. It dropped from 6.3% to 6.1%. That is the lowest rate since September of 2008. Now, add to that also, you have Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average crossing 17,000 for the first time ever, right after the opening bell, settled at 17,050. That is an amazing number. You have people right now who are saying that this is the greatest barometer that we have of the American economy. Wall Street continues to rise. Stocks are selling. People are making money. It has to be something good. It has to mean something positive. However, let's add something else to all this now. You have politicians also looking at a number of other issues and a number of other numbers here. The top jobs numbers for June seem to be cause for a lot more appreciation. The unemployment rate goes to 6.1%. Have your eyes started to glaze over yet with all these different numbers here? But believe me, it's all worth it. Because with the unemployment rate going down to 6.1%, the lowest in 6 years, hiring has shown 5 months of steady growth. But the public still sees the economy as being in poor shape. You have economists now who are worried about what the Fed will do, because that plunge in U.S. unemployment in the lowest level for more than 5 years means the Federal Reserve may raise the main interest rate earlier than they forecast just 3 weeks ago. The Fed is having to figure out now what they're going to do, because payrolls up by 288,000 workers in June and unemployment fell to 6.1%. It's a stellar jobs report. They love it. They say that it's perfect. They say that everything is going well. I kind of feel like it's almost that moment from Animal House where you have the guy at the end going, all is well, remain calm, okay? Let's make some sense of it. Welcome into MidPoint, adjunct professor of corporate finance at Seton Hall University and former New York City mayoral candidate Cecilia Berkowitz joins us today. Cecilia, thanks for being with us. Cecilia, hi, it's Ed Berliner. Can you hear me? Gentlemen, I think we have to get Cecilia on the telephone because apparently she cannot hear me. So I tell you what, let's see what we can do to straighten that out. Now, I'm going to hit you with more numbers because, unfortunately, the numbers tell the whole story here. That June job, 217,000 jobs in May, 304,000 in April, both revised upward. Monthly job gains this year have averaged 230,000. That is up from 194,000 in 2013. Again, we come back to this dance back and forth about whether or not it is really good for the American economy. If you are gaining jobs, everybody feels that everything has to be perfect, everything has to be working well, Americans have to be working, and everybody's happy. But we still come down to the Fed, and it comes down to what interest rates are going to do sooner or later. There are those on Wall Street who see this as a muddle-through economy. What they're basically saying is, we just have to go ahead and get through it. Don't worry about it. People will go back to work. There will be greater job reports. There will be more money that will be spent. There's a lot of speculation about earlier than expected rate increases. Gauges show the recovery still remains rather soft. The Fed has to weigh that weakness against an unemployment rate falling faster than they would have expected. Last month, the Fed projected the U.S. jobless rate would be a little higher than 6% by the end of 2014, basically. So let's bring it all back again. You're an investor. You're sitting there, you have stocks on Wall Street. You're sitting there, you have stocks on Wall Street. Wall Street goes to 17,000, everything's good, you're making a couple of bucks. But the biggest problem is that you wonder how that equates to the average individual out there trying to make a buck. We got about 2 minutes left. Let's go ahead and try again and see if we have Cecilia Berkowitz joining us. Cecilia, have we finished and straightened out our technical issues?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, we've only got about 2 minutes left in this block, so I'm going to hit you with a couple of hard questions here. 17,000 on Wall Street, over 17,000.
Yes.
What does that really mean for the average investor, though, when we keep hearing that the economy is soft?
Well, the economy is improving, expected to continue to improve in terms of jobs and unemployment rates and numbers. So it means that it can be considered a leading indicator of good economic future for our country, good economic performance. It can be considered a leading indicator of consumer confidence, of better wage levels and better job numbers going forward, maybe even an unemployment rate closer to our ideal 5 or 5.5% in the next year or so.
Well, we hear there's a lot of maybes in there again. I'm trying to put it into perspective for the general individual out there, Joe Beer Can, I like to call him. Does 17,000 at Wall Street really mean that his or her opportunities are getting better and that their paycheck's going to be worth more?
Yes, we think that it does. The wage level should continue to increase. Jobs and unemployment rates should continue to improve. The unemployment rates are not that good yet because of long-term unemployment, but as we continue to resolve this, as companies improve their business and economic outlook, and as the government intervenes and creates job recovery programs, we expect there to be a good economic future for our country and for us to recover from the recession.
Then about 30 seconds or so that I have left here, and sorry, we're going to have you it back again. We'll do this all over again and spend a little more time. But taking all that into account, then why are there some critics who still say this economy is not recovering?
Well, 6.1% is not our ideal unemployment rate. Our ideal unemployment rate is below 5 or 5.5%. Also, there are a lot of long-term unemployed people. The wage levels are not very good. The average American trying to earn a buck isn't earning more than a buck if that's his rate per few minutes, or it translates to an hourly wage rate or salary level. So the average American worker is not earning as much as he should for a good economic recovery, and he can't buy everything he needs to, which drives consumption, which drives GDP, which helps our overall expansionary economy compete with other countries in the world better.
It's all about money that you make. Cecilia Berkowitz, again, our apologies for the technical difficulties here. This is in-depth. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back right here on MidPoint. We'll be back right here on MidPoint.
In 2014, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you're robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
When you've got a serious leak, it's time to call for help. It's time for Leak Ender 2000. It fixes any leak and fixes it fast. No matter what kind of leak you have, just spray it with Leak Ender 2000. And in minutes, the leak is sealed. Look, we'll take this garden hose and cut it with a knife. Now we'll shut off the water, spray on Leak Ender 2000, and minutes later the hose is as good as new. The cut is sealed completely. Here's the secret. Leak Ender 2000 is a specially formulated liquid rubber compound that completely fills any crack or separation as it hardens, sealing it tight. Why put up with gushing gutters, dripping drains, wet windowsills, and rain-soaked RVs? Leak Ender 2000 stops all those leaks with just a simple spray.
Leak Ender 2000 is great. I just spray it on and no more leak. I don't know what I would do without it.
Leaky appliances can drive you crazy, but just spray on Leak Ender 2000 and they're as good as new. And what about those foundation cracks? They let water in, even bugs. But Leak Ender 2000 can seal it up in no time. It can even fix air leaks. Just a quick spray and it's sealed up tight. Leak Ender 2000 stops leaks in metal, wood, cement, brick, baked enamel, just about anything. Why spend a fortune on costly repairs and replacements? Just spray those leaks away with Leak Ender 2000. It's yours for only $14.95, and it's guaranteed to work or your money back. But wait, order now and we'll double your order at no extra charge. You'll get this huge giant-sized can, good for hundreds of jobs, for only $14.95. So have your credit card ready and call now.
To order Leak Ender 2000, have your credit card ready and call toll-free. 1-800-873-2700 or send check or money order for $14.95 plus $5.95 shipping to Leak Ender 2000, P.O. Box 1183, Cathedral City, California. Call 1-800-873-2700.
I live alone, so when I slipped and fell in the kitchen last month and couldn't get to a phone, that's when I knew I needed Life Alert. With just one press of this button, I'm connected to the Life Alerts even when I cannot reach a phone. With Life Alert, I'm never alone.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 800-961-5220. That's 800-961-5220. Call 800-961-5220.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old. 8 years into the disease was when all the light went out.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
Looking into the eyes of somebody with Alzheimer's, sometimes you just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
And it takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
She actually thought those of us who were caring for her and who loved her most were her worst enemies.
More and more responsibilities fell on my shoulders.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable. My mother taught me to be in the moment.
We have to live in the moment with them.
And I'm going to be with that person right now in this moment, wherever she is.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
I have to admit to being something of a real sucker when it comes to Independence Day. It's a special holiday for personal and all the usual reasons. And this year it made me take to social media, Facebook to be precise. And before all the eating, adult beverage imbibing, and trying to find the best place to watch fireworks in person, I wrote this very simple note on my personal page and called it a personal message to America. You're my home. You're the only place I would ever want to call home. You're not perfect, heaven knows. But even with all the warts and bumps, you stand the tallest and proudest, and for the most part, for all the right reasons. I could live anywhere else if I truly wanted to, but I won't. I can't. You mean too much to me. You allowed me to live a life that I could never have imagined. You provided me the opportunity to meet exceptional people, have wonderful friends, wake up every morning to a perfect lady and 2 wonderful kids, see the smile in my parents' eyes, and experience true wonders possible. I owe you much, in many ways a debt that cannot be fully repaid. Let's you and I make a pact to keep working. Let's you and I make a pact to keep working together. Try to do the right things. Seek out the best in people. Forge new wonderful memories for both of us. Happy birthday, and many, many more. Now, those words sound right even as I repeat them now. But I know that to a large part of this country and to the world, they might ring a bit hollow thanks to some of the news we see, hear, and talk about in this country. But that's where the part about us not being perfect comes in. America is still in many ways a national juvenile, a governmental diaper dandy. Think about the hundreds and thousands of years other countries have been in existence. And we've got a long way to go when it comes to matching them in numbers. In numbers, but not in spirit, not in meaning, and certainly not in practice. We're seemingly always at each other's throats. We're always arguing. There are far too many instances where it seems as if we couldn't possibly have the best interests of everyone in mind. Plenty of times it seems as if we're based more on hate than camaraderie. But that's part of what it means to be a free nation. The words, "and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea," that may be the toughest for us to exemplify at the moment. Despite how you feel about whether or not that line is in actual use these days, or just a batch of vowels and consonants, we have the chance to make it work. We have the opportunity, each and every one of us, to personify what those words mean. And even if we fail, we have another chance. Plenty of other nations can and likely never will be able to say the same thing. This is still the greatest nation on earth. It is still the place where more often wrongs can be righted, common ground can be found, answers can be agreed upon. We have the chance to be Americans. We have the chance to be Americans. And while that may not be enough for everyone, it should be the perfect place to start.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We make mistakes, but we have a chance to come back every single day and make them a little better in many other countries around the world. And that is telling it like it is. Second stanza of the fastest 3 hours of news comes up right after this, because this is MidPoint, where every day we question everything. Every day we question everything.
Have you or your son taken the drug Risperdal? Risperdal has been linked with gynecomastia, a serious condition that causes boys and young men to grow female breast tissue. If you or your son develop breast after taking Risperdal, take action fast. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. Call the Risperdal Alert Helpline right now for a free, discreet evaluation of your claim. Many cases have already been settled out of court, so call us right now. Call the number on your screen today and let us help you get the compensation you deserve.
At 69, I'm starting a whole new chapter in my life.
Lifestyle Lift, a life-changing procedure that helps remove wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin on your face and neck.
I have a young...
Look, almost 200,000 lives changed. Lifestyle Lift is the affordable way to looking years younger.
Nothing's better than a Lifestyle Lift.
Don't miss your chance for your free skin firming treatment. Call now, because this amazing offer ends soon.
Every time I see somebody, you look so good, you just never age. I go, oh, thank you for that. You know?
Would you feel good looking younger and more attractive?
I haven't felt this good in years.
My name is Cindy. I'm 56, but nobody needs to know.
Don't miss your chance for your free skin firming treatment. Call now because this amazing offer ends soon.
Call now, 800-599-0771.
Don't regret looking older than you feel.
You want to attend college so you can pursue your goals, but you may not be able to afford it. At ITT Tech, we're doing something to put a degree financially within your reach. The new ITT Tech Opportunity Scholarship is now available to eligible students who qualify. We believe education is a sound investment. Make a choice that can
Find out about the new Opportunity Scholarship from ITT Tech. 800-453-0319. 800-453-0319. 800-453-0319.
It was November of 2013. The Obama administration reportedly knew the danger from ISIS, yet they did nothing. Was it because their hands were tied because of their own policies on Iraq? Israel is apologizing for the latest brutality on the Palestinian people. This while many believe both Israel and Hamas may have lost control of those in their ranks. And the border crisis lights up the Sunday news. We'll light up that and a whole lot more as we question everything from Monday, July 7th, 2014. We'll also go around the dial in Ohio, where they're talking about problems with jobs and problems with Johnny Football. Then again, the second one is some football. Then again, the second one is something that I think everybody's going to expect by the time the NFL season begins. That and a whole lot more after John Bachman deals out this edition of Newsmax Now.
And we just got a report in now that the appeals court, the 9th District Court of Appeals in San Francisco, has blocked Arizona from denying driver's licenses to young immigrants. Immigrants will now be allowed to keep a driver's license if they have a work permit and they have avoided deportation under the Obama administration policy. The ruling marks a victory for immigrant rights advocates who argued the young immigrants were harmed by unequal treatment by the state of Arizona. Of course, much more to come on this program as well as many others today here on Newsmax TV. Moving on now, we focus on Israel. In the Middle East, Palestinian-American boy who is from Florida is now out of jail on house arrest after being detained without charges over the weekend. The 15-year-old whose Palestinian cousin was abducted and murdered last week is saying that he was brutally beaten by Israeli police in an unprovoked attack amid riots in East Jerusalem. He told reporters that he saw 3 people coming at him and quickly lost consciousness before waking up in the hospital. Some of that beating was captured on video, as you can see here. It's been airing on local Palestinian TV as tension mounts between the Israelis and the Palestinians following the revenge killing of another Palestinian. Also, more beefed up security at airports. More beefed up security at airports. Some folks who've been traveling internationally or have friends who have done so may have noticed this. Security screeners are asking folks to turn on their cell phones and other electronic devices. The important part here is that this is in the wake of new reports of possible terror attacks coming from the Middle East. So if you travel to an airport internationally, you're asked to turn on your cell phone. That is what is behind it. Keep an eye on that story as well. And we move ahead here. The decision, of course, has been made as well. According to Darrell Issa, Attorney General Eric Holder will appoint a special prosecutor to look into the IRS scandal. That's not stopping Issa, though, for renewing his criticism of the IRS for failing to release information to Congress in a timely manner. Appearing on Fox News Sunday, Congressman Issa had this to say.
They could have pushed one button, taken everything that came out of their search and handed it to tax writing committees in hours, not over a year.
Well, the agency is under congressional investigation from ISA's committee, the House Oversight Committee, and the House Ways and Means Committee for allegedly targeting conservative groups seeking tax-exempt status. More news ahead in 30 minutes. I'm John Bachman. This has been your Newsmax Now Update.
What we have in Hamas is a terror organization committed to our destruction. They fired thousands of rockets at our cities. They dispatched scores of suicide bombers against us. They perpetrated this crime. And Hamas is an organization that's not just your run-of-the-mill terror organization, if a terror organization can be called that. It's a genocidal terror organization. It calls for the murder of Jews worldwide. So we have to take very strong action against Hamas. The Prime Minister will take action against those who perpetrated this particular crime. He's taking action right now in Judea and Samaria and the West Bank to make sure that he can dismantle the terror infrastructure that Hamas has built there. He's also taking action right now to go after the terrorists in Gaza who are continuing, even in the last couple of days, to fire rockets at our cities. So he's taking action against Hamas, and he'll continue to do so because Hamas is committed to our destruction, and we will defend ourselves.
It's a couple of simple questions that a lot of the world is asking today. For instance, in the battle between Israel and the Palestinians, who is telling the truth? And in the battle in Iraq and Syria, and with ISIS involved, did the leader of this group actually show himself recently? They're still trying to figure this out. We need to start getting some answers. Joining us now, the former Special Forces operator, national security expert, founder of IMS Security, Aaron Cohen, joins us on MidPoint today. Aaron, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Aaron, that is the first simple question that I want to put to you when it comes down to Israel and the Palestinians. Benjamin Netanyahu certainly did something which a lot of people did not expect this weekend when he took the arrest of 6 Jews in the killing of an Arab teen, confronting their own extremists. Hamas has their extremists right now who seem to be taking their own actions unilaterally away from the government or away from any sort of leadership whatsoever. Are the people here actually in charge, or are they dealing with both sides, Israel and Hamas, fringe elements, if you will, who simply are so bent on revenge that they're going to do whatever they want whenever they want it?
Well, there's definitely fringe elements on both sides. Obviously, the Palestinians seem to be able to carry out terror attacks regardless of the fact that they're aligned with some type of government in the West Bank, which is Hamas. I think there's a fundamental difference, which is that we've noticed a very on the Israeli side, which is just a true extension of Israel's democracy, which is radical Jews went off, and apparently they've gotten to a point now where they've killed a boy. The Israelis were very swift in their action in terms of arresting them, investigating, and getting them to admit and turning them in, or bring them to justice. And that's, I think, one of the fundamental differences between these two sides here. It's been, almost a month since these 3 boys were kidnapped hiking in the West Bank. One of them as an American citizen, and yet even though the Palestinian president has condemned it, the fact is we still don't have any leads as to where these 2 gentlemen are. Israel presented the intelligence, yet they haven't been brought to the forefront. So I think there's a big difference here in terms of commitment, if you will. Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is very aggressive. He served in our special forces in Israel and he's committed to Israeli security. The fact is, he turned over the Jews who were responsible for this very quickly. So I think there's a very clear divide in terms of how these 2 countries operate. Clearly, Israel is a democracy. What we've got is a Western frontier or some kind of cowboy frontier going on in the West Bank, just tied in with lies.
How much of a shock is it, though, to the Israeli people themselves that Netanyahu takes this sort of action, as swift as it is, but certainly as I talk to a lot of friends both here in the United States and overseas, they say that they're stunned that it happened. They went right after their own, says something about maybe a change in Netanyahu's leadership. Give us a little bit of your leadership. Give us a little bit of your insight into that.
Well, I believe that Netanyahu, and Israel is a democracy. We've elected our leadership. It's a Western country essentially functioning in the Middle East, surrounded by, I just like to say a bad neighborhood. But at the end of the day, at the core of the Israeli roots is a democracy. And with a democracy, you've got powers and you've got accountability. And there's no accountability in the Palestinian side. And so as far as the shock of Netanyahu going up there, I don't think people are that shocked. I think they may be a little surprised because there's some nerves that have been fried with what happened to Naftali and these 2 other boys, or these 3 boys. But at the end of the day, Benjamin Netanyahu is an elected leader who understands the importance of being able to carry out law enforcement and having accountability. He's not going to let Israelis run around murdering Palestinians. And if they do, he's going to bring them to justice. And it's the same thing that we would do here in America. So, who's surprised about that? Who's not surprised about that? I'm not surprised, and I think Israelis. I think it's important for Israelis to and for the rest of the world to see how swift Israel does act.
Let's deal with
we don't tolerate this kind of thing.
Let's deal with what some people would consider a cowboy element here on both sides, because it would seem that there is that restraint is disappearing a little bit every day, both on the Israeli side and on the Palestinian side. Is it not fair to say that that restraint and holding in those extra groups, those people who want revenge, immediate revenge, that's going to be the key to keeping the lid on this current strife between the two sides?
Absolutely. I think the restraint is the main fiber that distinguishes these two places. There's no doubt in my mind. You framed it perfectly. Regardless of what your ideology is, regardless of what the Israeli ideology is or what the Palestinian ideology is, and this has been going on for 3,000 years. I fought with the Israelis. I've certainly worked very closely in the Palestinian communities. And at the end of the day, it's what you said, which is how it's dealt with when there's a fringe element that goes in extremis to begin to take the laws into their own hands. And Israel will not have it. They will not allow their people, regardless of the fact that they're Jews, no matter how pissed off that they are, go in and take the law into their own hands. And when they do, the reaction is swift, because that's the key difference, and I think you absolutely nailed it.
Is there any reason whatsoever, and again I'm going to take one side of this issue for the moment, but is there any reason whatsoever for anyone connected with the Israeli government or the Israeli people or the Jewish community, if you will, to trust anything that comes out of the mouth of Abbas at this moment or anybody from Hamas?
No, there is absolutely no reason for anybody on the Israeli side to trust anything that comes out from the mouth of Hamas, because Hamas is a terrorist organization bent on the genocide of Jews abroad, moving or pushing Israel into the ocean and destroying it. It's part of their doctrine. They manufacture this ideology and continue to pump it into future generations of children. It's in their media, it's in their textbooks. This is not a group that you can negotiate with. This is a terror organization hell-bent on the destruction of the Jewish state. There are no negotiations with a group like this, regardless of how they want to be portrayed. The fact is that Gaza is a terrorist-run area. And the Gazans, or the people of Gaza, have elected to put this terror group there. And the reason why is because they work on fear. Israel knows this. Israelis have known this for a long time. And we're not, this is nothing new for us in Israel. We're very used to this and these types of lies and deceit, which is commonly practiced and just the standard with terror organizations such as Hamas. So,
okay, I'm going to have to take it now from the other side, because there are those who follow the Palestinian side who will say that so long, why should they trust anything that comes out of the mouth of Israeli leaders?
Well, the reason why is because Israeli leaders don't send children in suicide vests to go blow up groups of innocent civilians. The reason why is because Israeli leaders have if anything, systematically attempted to sit down historically with the Arabs, with the Palestinians. Believe me, Israel wants nothing more than for fighting to stop. Israelis couldn't care less. They just want to play ping pong on the beach in their Speedos and listen to their trance music. That's Israel. Israel is a European country. They want nothing more than this entire waste of fighting to just stop, but they can't, because security is the fundamental element. Why? As far as the Palestinians not trusting the Israelis, well, listen, this isn't a young conflict, and it's certainly not going to go away anytime soon. And the reason why is because we're talking ideologies. There's always going to be one side that claims rights. There's always going to be another side that claims rights at the end of the day. It just comes down to fundamental security, and so we just do our best to press forward.
I only have about a minute left, so let me ask what a lot of Americans are asking right now. What, if any, actions should the United States do at this moment with regard to supporting Israel, or are we simply talking about something that is too early to consider?
Americans or here in the U.S., we need to wait and just see and let this play out. Israel has always had a very good grasp. on its security. Having said that, Israel and America have always had a very strong relationship as far as national security. Israel continues to operate as the United States' forward operating area in the Middle East, if you will. But I think at this point it's premature, and I think that the United States just kind of needs to hold back, let the Prime Minister continue to move the pieces around the board. He's brought several Jewish extremists to the forefront, and is going to prosecute them, without any nonsense, and go after them if they were in fact involved with the killing. And I think it's just a matter of kind of sitting back and letting them do what they need to do.
The world will watch and wait. Aaron, I know we had so much more to talk about. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We'll have you back again real soon, talk more about what's happening in the Middle East. I thank you so much for your time and for your expertise.
Thank you for having me.
All right. It is indeed something that we're going to watch and wait and see what happens. Next up, Muslim leaders tossing around strong words about a self-proclaimed caliphate. But in essence, are these words having any effect or just dust in the wind? Because you also have to consider now a leader who may have shown his face for the first time. That and a whole lot more as MidPoint continues, where every day we question everything.
Can you really lose weight without changing your lifestyle? LaToya Q did. In fact, in just 5 months, she lost nearly 2 pounds a week without changing the way she dieted or exercised.
I lost 36 pounds and I went down 4 dress sizes.
Like so many people, LaToya didn't want to change her lifestyle to lose weight. Instead, she decided to take America's #1 selling diet pill, Lipozene.
People kept asking me, are you you have to be exercising. You're really you just don't want to tell us what you're doing. I was like, no, I don't have time to go to a gym. I just took Lipozene and I started seeing results immediately.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. And to prove it, we conducted our very own double-blind clinical study where all we asked people to do was take Lipozene. And by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. These people were not asked to change their diet or exercise. And 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat. Not water, fat.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
And for even faster results, you can try Lipozene with moderate diet and exercise.
Feels great to have a six-pack. I didn't think I would have it at my age.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist and I lost 2 dress sizes, and I feel amazing.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
Lipozene, it works.
But wait, call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free. But you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
Call 1-800-509-9436. That's 1-800-509-9436.
Now on Newsmax TV. Does Ben Carson have a chance in 2016? Watch Newsmax TV on the Malsberg Show today. Plan to win and how he can stop Hillary Clinton. Go now to Newsmax TV. Newsmax TV.
Achille Marden saw his 71-year-old father Hamed gunned down in front of him.
What can I say? I hope to fight them. If I saw one of them, I would kill him with my hands. Not just me, but all of my people in all the village.
A lead line in the ISIS attempted overthrow of Iraq and other regions in the Mideast is how America and the rest of the world was caught completely off guard by the ferocity of this new enemy and should have known better and been better prepared. But now comes word America did know well when Obama policy in Iraq tied their hands. Truth be told, that and more. Let's welcome in political and economic analyst at the Economics Channel on Saudi TV, Ahmed Fatih joins us. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ed.
Let me start out, before we get into all this, I wanted to ask you as an expert something that vexes a lot of Americans here as we watch this. We continue to hear the use of the word caliphate, and I want to read to you something from USA Today. After the Prophet Muhammad died in 632, the Islamic community chose a caliph to lead the faithful. That institution lasted almost 1,300 years until it was abolished in 1924. Since that time, no mainstream Muslim held the position until June 29th, when the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria reestablished the caliphate. Setting that down now as a basis, what exactly is this and why should we be concerned?
The caliphate, as the quote from the USA Today, it started after the passing away of the Prophet Muhammad. And then also to note that through the first 5 caliphs came the biggest rift in the Islamic world by the establishing of the Shia sect and the Sunni sect. And this was also because of a caliph or another caliphate. So it's an ongoing thing. However, since 1924, with the demise of the Ottoman Caliphate and the establishment of the secular state in Turkey, nobody is hearing about it. However, I also wish to mention that all of the extremist groups from Al-Qaeda, Islamic Jihad, Hizb Tahrir, even the Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt, it's part of their dogma is to re-establish the caliphate once more. It's been an ongoing dream, let me put it this way, since 1924, and became also a raison d'etre for some of these groups to reincarnate this form of government that the time and history have passed by miles and miles.
Is it a dream, though, that really 21st century, as all of these groups are battling back and forth to gain control of land, does it gain control of land? Does it really make a difference?
It shouldn't make a difference. However, we should also be vigilant that during the year that the Muslim Brotherhood reached to the governing in Egypt by the election of Morsi, they have also started to promote this idea of the caliphate. Those people, their dogma does not believe in established borders. Political borders are nil to them. Their dream is to establish the caliphate from the Atlantic Ocean to the China Wall. It's very complicated to sum it up in few words. However, the West should be concerned to a certain extent that we have seen, for example, the Obama administration's support for the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. This have backfired to a large extent. It have angered the US allies in the area, such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, you name it, with the exception, of course, of Tunisia, where it have an Islamist government.
Ahmed, there's also a story floating around, it has been out there for a little while, that apparently in November, Congress knew that ISIS was launching 40 suicide bombers a month, which means the Obama administration knew about it, and we continue to ask these questions, how could they be caught off guard? From what you know, and from what this story is now telling us, isn't that just a falsity, that indeed the administration had to know what was going on here? They knew about the coming of ISIS, and when people say it caught them off guard, that's not true.
This is the million-dollar question, Ed. The Obama administration, national security team, and foreign policy members are totally out of sync with what's happening in the world. Their analysis and their situation contingency planning, if there is a contingency planning, is less than mediocre. This is the fact we have to deal with till 2016. I wish to highlight that although that there were reports that the ISIL responsible for 40 suicide bombers, the speed where the Iraqi army has fallen is unimaginable and was not really taken into consideration. There was not even a single
Ahmed, I want to stop you there if
resistance.
I can. I know that there's a delay here, but I want to stop you a little bit there. Was it really imaginable, though, honestly, people, and we were giving them a tremendous amount of training and money. Weren't there indications already well before ISIS started its drive that the Iraqi military simply was not able to take care of itself?
We are speaking about an organized army, no matter how badly trained or the morale is bad, versus guerrillas, versus militias with light arms. Come on, they couldn't even have a helicopter with a machine gun to fly over them. This goes beyond the logic of things, beyond the nature of organized armies. This is the result of al-Malki, the Iraqi prime minister policies. Jobs were sold in the open market. Those who signed up to serve in the Iraqi army were actually paying a salary of a month or 2 months through the door. Corruption was prevalent all over Iraq under al-Malki leadership.
But from your perspective, looking at what I said a couple of moments ago, would you then agree that, knowing what we know now, there's absolutely no way the Obama administration or anybody in the administration can claim that this caught them off guard? That would be a lie.
I would imagine that the fact that they have exaggerated that it was caught them off guard. That means that there is no existence for U.S. intelligence inside Iraq, that there is no existence for U.S. intelligence inside Syria. ISIL came, or known as ISIS, I prefer to use ISIL, came from Syria. They were controlling already towns and cities in Syria. They did not just came out of the blues. This is an ongoing activities they have been involved with. The speed that the Al-Mosul fell, and the fact that they were able to confiscate $400 million in cash, makes ISIL the richest terrorist organization in the world. Remember, Al-Qaeda operating budget in the heyday years of their operations was not more than $30 million a year. Imagine this group with such amount, what they are capable of doing.
Okay, I have about a minute left here, and let me direct your attention to the video we saw this weekend with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, apparently the leader of ISIL or ISIS. Is it your opinion that this is a genuine video? It apparently is they're still trying to verify this. And what would be the reason for him to come out and do this? I would guess it would be to tell his followers, I'm here, I'm in the open, I'm your leader, follow me.
I agree with your analysis that he just wanted to make a statement that he's there, he's he's not a fictitious personality. But I would also like to stress that this Caliph al-Baghdadi, he have signed his death certificate by himself by showing his face.
But if he does show his face, then does that not show either an arrogance or a confidence that he is well protected enough and that he does not have to fear American or any other reprisal?
I don't think that no matter how he thinks he's protected, he's still going to be vulnerable. He's still going to be vulnerable to drone attacks if the Obama administration decided to use the drones in curbing or tracking down his movements.
15 seconds. Do you think the U.S. will use drones?
Eventually they will, but not while al-Malki is a prime minister.
That, I think, is the big key right there. Unfortunately, we are all out of time. Please, we're going to have to do this again, Ahmed, because there is so much more to discuss, and you've certainly given us a little bit of enlightenment as to what goes on. It's a very confusing situation for Americans as we watch this unfold on a daily basis. So I thank you very much for your time, and we will do it again.
You're welcome, Ed.
It is fair to say, too, that what he says is very true. There is a discussion as to whether or not and when Americans will bring drones into the affair, and that is not being considered by many simply because of the collateral damage that they may bring about at this time, and they may have to start destroying cities and civilians as well. A lot to talk about here. MidPoint, every day, we question everything. We will continue.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's Get Up and Go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Learn about our risk-free trial offer at prostaterevive.com/Jim.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh yes, and that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. The White House responds to new claims of spying involving Germany. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who is currently in China, says if reports that a German intelligence employee spied for the United States are true, it would be a clear contradiction of trust between Germany and the United States. German prosecutors say a 31-year-old German official handed over and sold hundreds of documents to the U.S. between 2012 and 2014. This issue threatens to strain U.S. and German relations. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest was adamant about America's willingness to solve this matter.
That partnership is built on respect, and it's built on decades of cooperation and shared values. We value that relationship, and that's why we're going to work through this matter and ensure that it's resolved appropriately with the Germans.
While the White House spokesman said the U.S. is dedicated to resolving this issue, he did not confirm or deny whether the spying allegations are true. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
The flashpoint that is immigration and the arrival in American cities of kids and families seeking a new home, the hard focus of what was being talked about on the Sunday news show Dance Cards. Let us begin with CNN's State of the Union with Candy Crowley, where Marietta, California Mayor Alan Long and Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar were discussing the immigration crisis and what they consider the jail-like conditions the immigrants are facing.
We expected the buses to enter the Border Patrol facility and the processing to take place there. What we object to is we object to inhumane facilities. If you look at the Border Patrol, those are jail cells. That facility can only process 25 per 8-hour shift. And if you look at 8-hour shift, and if you look at the numbers we're talking about, I think immigrants would have been queued up in a facility that does not have the ability or the capacity to hold them long term and that's just not right either.
I've been to those detention spaces many a times. They're supposed to be only for a small number of individuals, and as my pictures have shown, that they're just being overwhelmed. They're processing them as quickly as possible. As you know, under the law, Border Patrol should move those individuals out in 72 hours. And again, if you're a mother with children, you're going to be put at a bus station, $500 a day just in South Texas that they're releasing. And if you're a child, then of course they're going to send you somewhere else, Health and Human Services, after they're being processed. So those numbers are overwhelming. And again, keep in mind, this is not a Mexican problem, it's a Central American problem.
We continue to hear words, immigration reform. Whether or not it actually happens is something that still is very much up in the air. On CBS News Face the Nation, Senators Lindsey Graham and John McCain were once again pushing immigration reform.
I would just like to ask both of you, how do you feel about being members of a body that won't act, and a party on a crisis like this?
We'll just continue the fight. We will continue the effort, a respectful effort, to convince our colleagues in the House that we need to move forward on this issue. But it doesn't help when the president says that he has a pen and he has a phone. But we'll continue to make that effort on the grounds of security of our border, as well as the fact that you cannot deport 11 million people. We need to address the issue.
Bob, there is a change in our party. I don't see how you could effectively win the presidency in 2016 if you adopt self-deportation as the Republican view toward immigration. Ted Cruz embraces legalization without a path to citizenship. Things are changing on our side. It makes it really hard to deal with a president who at every turn takes a law he doesn't like and unilaterally changes it. From the IRS to Obamacare, it has a cumulative effect. So there are people in the Republican Party who get it. But the president is making it very hard for us, those who do get it, to work with him because he's unilaterally changed every law he doesn't like. Now he's putting immigration on the list.
It's interesting simply because we are constantly going back and forth on this whole issue of immigration reform. And we hear it every single Sunday on a lot of the Sunday shows. Whether or not there will be, whether or not it can get done, the simple fact that we continue to hear with the people that we talk to here at MidPoint and certainly on the Newsmax network, Steve Malzberg talks to them, J.D. Hayworth talks to them, it is the same thing. It is the people on the ground who are waiting for some sort of answer. They're waiting for someone to do something. We have heard the possibility of there being vigilante groups that are going to be going to Marietta, California, and other places other places along the border where they want to join whatever protests are there. We have heard rumors, and again, completely unsubstantiated at this point. We even asked one of our guests earlier, who is in San Diego, about this, about the possibility of armed guards being there, about the possibility of riot gear, patrolled cops being there. They have not heard that either. It simply comes down to getting the facts, and it simply comes down to the people, whether they're in Marietta, California, whether they're in Texas, or whether they are in Arizona, they are asking what is actually going on and who can give us some answers. We continue to get all these different answers, but they're not the ones that the people need to hear. We will, of course, keep you updated. Now, this American moment.
He had served in 2 wars and flown over 150 combat missions. But in just 60 seconds, this Marine Corps officer would experience a ride like no other. At 9:47 a.m. on the 20th of February, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn Jr. of New Concord, Ohio, found himself sitting on top of an Atlas 6 rocket filled with 600,000 pounds of fuel. At liftoff, 360,000 pounds of thrust hurled the massive rocket and its occupant into space, and America's history books. 4th human being to enter space, and the first American to orbit the Earth. For his remarkable heroism, President Kennedy awarded Colonel Glenn NASA's Distinguished Service Medal.
As our knowledge of this universe in which we live increases, may God grant us the wisdom and guidance to use it wisely. Thank you, Colonel.
Glenn went on to become the United States Senator from Ohio, and in 1984 ran for the Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
Any flashlight can throw a beam, but not even this floodlight is bright enough to light up a room. Now there's the Torchlight from Bell & Howell, the high-tech portable light that's really big on brightness. Look, ordinary flashlights just have a narrow beam, but the Torchlight has a brighter, wider beam that brilliantly lights up the entire room. Even when the power goes out, you won't be left in the dark because its 28 ultra-bright LEDs give you over 100,000 hours of bright, reliable light. It's like having nature's own sunlight at your fingertips. Its high-powered magnetic base lets you securely attach it to any metal surface to give you a steady, bright light that brilliantly lights up your entire work area. It's like having an extra pair of hands. It's so powerful it can lift up to 2.5 pounds, and with its brightly pick up dropped nails and screws. And look, the Torchlight is also a flashlight. Its 5 white LEDs give you a clear, bright light to easily see wherever you go. The sturdy base keeps the Torchlight in place exactly where you want it, and the articulating arm has 6 preset positions that let you tilt the light an incredible 180 degrees to give you total lighting coverage. Use it at your computer, as a table lamp, or to light up those dark, unlit areas. Hang it anywhere and rotate it 360 degrees to give you light wherever you need it. While its rugged construction makes it impact resistant and weatherproof too. And now the Bell & Howell Torchlight is yours for just $10. But wait, call now and we'll double your order. That's 2 for the price of 1. Just pay separate processing and handling. Order your Torchlight now.
To order your Torchlight and receive a second one free, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-936-0400. That's 1-800-936-0400.
35 years ago, fly the Atlantic. Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? We choose to go.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
288,000 jobs were created in the last month. Expectations were for a creation of 212,000 jobs to the economy. This makes 5 consecutive months of job growth above 200,000. We haven't seen a stretch like that since the late 90s.
I think we're starting to really see firms going out and hiring more workers. For the last couple of years, job destruction has been relatively low, and it's really been this anemic pace of new hiring that has made the recovery sort of lackluster. And now I think we're really starting to see that pace picking up, and we hope that the good news is going to start feeding on itself, that you're going to get more consumer spending out of this, and that will in turn lead to more job growth.
Amidst all the talk of a research being tossed at the feet of politicians for putting people back to work, ask what's happening on the ground in one of America's veteran cities, and you will get a very different version. Then again, in this city, just ask Johnny Football to pick up the tab and all will be right with the world. Let's go round the dial and feature some of America's best radio talkers. From WTAM Radio in Cleveland, where he holds court weeknights, Bob France joins the fray at MidPoint. Bob, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend.
Good afternoon, Ed. Good to be here.
All right, boss, here we go. Ohio has not, now this I picked off right out of the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Ohio has not recovered 120,000 jobs lost since the recession. Some say the number is higher. Bob, excuse me, we're being told that Wall Street is up, 17,000 is hit on the Dow Jones. Economy's good. Everything's fine, man. What's wrong with you guys in Cleveland?
Well, you know, the irony about that is during the first few years of the Obama administration, well, more specifically, since Governor John Kasich was elected, it was the reverse. When the economy was going to regain its footing when Obama came into office, and the unemployment rate went from, 7.1 or something like, 7.1 or something like that when Bush left office, and it skyrocketed to 10.1 when Obama was really implementing the stimulus plan. When all of that was going on, Ohio was actually gaining jobs well ahead of the pace of the nation. And now it seems to be reversed. The nation seems to be adding more jobs, but Ohio is still struggling, or actually going back now and struggling a little bit. So Governor John Kasich really inherited a mess here from Ted Strickland, his predecessor in the gubernatorial mansion here in the state of Ohio. He has done a very nice job, but he did a few controversial things as well. It is slowing growth, I think, at the local, municipal, county, and of course in the safety forces rates or in those locations because of drastic measures that he had to take, honestly, to get Ohio's state budget under control. We were operating in such a deep, deep red sea of debt when Governor Strickland left. Governor Kasich, in order to get the state back on its feet and back in the black, he cut the spending that was sent to the local municipalities, as I say, in counties. It was all part of SB 5, in which he tried to give, when he first came into office, he tried to give local school boards and municipalities and counties an opportunity to renegotiate contracts with unions without collective bargaining. And those sorts of things were supposed to give the counties more flexibility to keep hiring, and the municipalities to keep hiring. And at the time, it was, I think it was a good idea, but he lost that fight. There was a referendum, and the people of Ohio voted that down. So now the funding was cut to a lot of these local level employers, particularly government employers, and it has reached into the private sector as well. And so there are a lot less Ohioans perhaps getting opportunities now than they had early on in the Kasich governorship.
Is there any thinking whatsoever that this may be tied to the federal government or the people in Ohio asking for help from the feds, or blaming Barack Obama or the Republicans or anybody else except for what has happened in state?
It's truly at the same end in Ohio as it is everywhere else. It's a split. If you are a Republican in the state of Ohio, you're blaming Obama and saying Kasich has had to take these drastic actions. It's not his fault. If it wasn't for the Obama federal economy, the state of Ohio would be fine, and we wouldn't have to, cut the money out at the local levels. If you're a Democrat, of course, it's all John Kasich's fault, and we need a new governor, we need a Democrat, et cetera, et cetera. So it's no different here in this, this bellwether state, which it really is, 2 years away from the 2016 election. I think Ohio is once again going to be, the battleground state that has to be won for the White House to be decided.
Bob, immigration, of course, is the issue that everybody is talking about. We don't hear it affecting Ohio much, certainly not up in Cleveland, but it touches every citizen right now. What are the people on your show on WTAM saying about the immigration issue, certainly what's happening in Southern California and other places?
Well, it affects people in Ohio a lot more than you might think, Ed. We're not a border state, obviously, but there is a significant population of illegal immigrants, workers, especially in the east side of Cleveland and the eastern side of Northeast Ohio, where they are taking jobs, and not just migrant farm worker jobs. They're taking good construction jobs from Americans who are, obviously hoping to get back to work. So it affects Ohio just as much as it does a lot of other states. People might not realize that. What we're saying here and what is simple mathematics. We are $17.6 trillion in debt in the United States of America. This country cannot meet the obligations to provide for the basic necessities that tax dollars are supposed to provide for the, 320 million people that are already here. Mm-hmm. We cannot allow millions more to flow across that border unchecked and expect to be able to provide for them, while again, failing to provide for those who are already here. Our debt is unsustainable, and for this to continue, and we need to realize this too, and this is what I'm hearing a lot of. Fortunately, people get this, at least that I talk to on WTAM 1100. If you take that, what is it? How many undocumented children, unaccompanied children have come across in the last few months? Some 52,000.
Over 50,000, yes.
More than double the rate from a year ago. Okay, take that number and multiply it by a factor of 3 or 4, because where are they going to go? There are not enough American, foster families willing to take these kids in. These kids are not going to be raised by the state. They're going to have to be raised by people. All right. So what's going to happen is they're going to send for their parents. The Obama administration, in the interest of humanity or humanitarian causes, they're going to say these children are here. We have to provide for them. We have to take care of them. Who best to do it but their parents? They're going to bring them over here. And then, of course, when they get here, they're going to hatch new kids, and they're going to have more anchor babies to set up, put their stakes down on United States soil. And they're all, I honest to God believe, Ed, a planned invasion of the United States, planned by Barack Obama, and the Democrat strategists at the federal level to create an influx of new Democratic voters in this country when they get the amnesty. And I just heard your cuts there with John McCain blaming the House for not passing comprehensive immigration reform. Thank God somebody is not just steamrolling forward for a plan that will honestly bankrupt this country and really limit the freedom that the rest of us who are already here have.
Bob, we're all out of time. We didn't even get a chance to get to LeBron James and Johnny Football, for crying out loud. All right, next time you come on the show, we'll talk about Johnny Football with a dollar bill that's all rolled up in a bathroom and stuff. We'll talk about that someday. Please, yeah, some other time.
He's going to continue to make those decisions.
He'll blow up sooner or later. Bob, thank you so much. Bob France, WTAM 1100 in Cleveland. We'll do it again, my friend. Take care.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it.
And we didn't even talk about LeBron James, maybe, although everybody in the control room is screaming at me about that one, okay? Stick around. This is MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
If you want an adjustable bed, shop by phone and save on a new Craftmatic, the best-selling adjustable brand ever. Call for prices and free information. There's no obligation. Our everyday low prices are guaranteed. Compare us to the leading memory foam brand and save hundreds, even $1,000 or more. Discover our 30-day in-home trial. We won't be undersold. There's no hassle, no pressure, no pain. No salesman will come to your home. Convenient delivery, installation, and in-home service in the continental U.S. Watch TV, read, eat, rest, and relax at the touch of a button. Enjoy personal heat and soothing massage at a price you can afford. So why consider anything else? Discover Craftmatic for less, up to 50% less. Call for prices and free information and save hundreds, even $1,000 or more on luxurious memory foam. There's no obligation. Call now.
3106. That's 1-800-686-3106. Call 1-800-686-3106. Call 1-800-686-3106. Call now.
Are you at a crossroads? Where do you turn when the ones closest to you can't help? Turn to Psychic Source, the most respected psychic service for more than 20 years. Psychic Source is there day or night with insight and answers, whatever your question.
Is he the one for me? What is going on with my life?
You'll get accurate answers from expert advisors.
I'm Joseph.
Hi, my name's Macy. I specialize in love and relationships.
Call now and get an on-the-spot 10-minute reading for just $10. Plus, if you're not completely satisfied with your call, you don't pay for it.
I say do it. Go for it.
You can go to a doctor and tell them I've got this pain. Well, what's the difference? You can call a psych and say I have this pain in my emotional life, and we'll get you through it.
Comfort is a phone call away.
Call me if you're at a crossroads. I can help you.
$10 for 10 minutes. Get the answers you've been waiting for. Call Psychic Source now.
Call 1-800-358-0249. 1-800-358-0249.
Hi, I'm Ben Affleck. The only thing better than playing a hero in the movies is being a hero in real life. Like the 50,000 veterans who returned from Iraq and Afghanistan with devastating injuries. They are true heroes, and they're why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America. For more than 60 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has made a promise to never leave a fallen comrade behind. They make sure veterans with spinal cord injuries get the quality medical care, rehabilitation, and housing they need when they come home. They stay with our fallen heroes for the long term, offering counseling, job training, and support to help them regain the freedom and independence they fought so hard for, all at no cost to them. Our veterans fought for us. About how you can help, visit pva.org. That's pva.org. A.org. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
It's a city in southwestern Riverside County, California. Last time a census was taken, only a little over 100,000 people called it home. But it has been called one of the fastest growing cities in the state, experiencing a 234% population increase in the 00 decade. The people who live there, however, are not thrilled one bit with why their population is expanding rapidly in the last week or so. The ongoing focal point in the immigration debate, Murrieta, California, the focus of today's news call.
New busloads of undocumented women and children have arrived in Southern California, but it's unclear where they will be processed. Sarah Welch live for us in Murrieta tonight. Sarah?
Well, Michael, the protesters behind me have been waiting all day and night for those buses to arrive. Border Patrol agents won't confirm, but we've been told, or we're hearing rather, that those buses were diverted to a facility in San Ysidro. This follows a day of harsh words and even arrests over how to handle the nation's immigration crisis.
The second group will arrive in Murrieta sometime tomorrow. But today, Homeland Security gave us a closer look at exactly where in Central America these kids are actually coming from. Now that they are here, NBC4's Patrick Healy will take a closer look at how the legal side is prepared to handle the surge. Patrick.
Well, Colleen and Chuck, the federal building downtown just behind us is where many of the undocumented on those buses, including the children, are expected to be brought. They will seek asylum to stay in this country in a process that could take years.
Well, for over 2 years, we've drawn the attention of this issue to this administration. As a matter of fact, in May of 2012, we sent a letter, laid out what was happening with the unaccompanied minors that were showing up at the border, and we told them, said, if you do not address this, here is what's going to happen. And we're seeing that become reality today. This is a failure of diplomacy. It is a failure of leadership from the administration in Washington, D.C. And it was, messages have been sent now for multiple years. In 2010, I asked for the president to put 1,000 National Guard troops in place along the border to secure the border so that we could train up 3,000 Border Patrol agents to augment and to permanently secure that border.
Fireworks of a different sort in Murrieta tonight as demonstrators on both sides of the immigration battle involving women and children faced off once again. Tonight, KCAL 9's Stacey Butler is live in Murrieta with the very latest. Stacey.
And crowds have been gathering here on and off at the Murrieta Border Patrol station since Wednesday. And you can see behind me, they're still all out here waiting for the buses to arrive, even as we're just now getting word that the immigrant detainees will not be coming here, but they are being processed in San Ysidro.
The flag waving at the Border Patrol station in Murrieta began overnight, more in protest than in celebration.
Shut down the border!
This time, both sides in the immigration debate were present and noisy. For Jackie Nemechek, the flood of undocumented immigrants is...
We don't want any more because we're kind of overwhelmed. The cup is full, you know, and it's about time it's full, you know, and it's about time Americans took back their country.
Many of those on the buses that were blocked here on Tuesday made the same journey Jose Maldonado made 1 year ago. At age 17, he was fleeing crime and violence in Honduras. His grandparents, who had raised him, died, and he was being pressed to join a gang.
My husband is a police officer in our country, and my kids have been threatened because of that.
An Immigration and Customs Enforcement spokesperson says undocumented immigrants are not simply released to the streets. She says agents verify someone is picking them up, and there's a legitimate address to which they're headed. One immigration attorney tells us in most cases, ICE requires a deposit, usually $7,500, to ensure they'll appear in court, plus proof the relative can provide for them until then.
Reports here today from the San Diego local 1613 chapter of the National Border Patrol Council. And again, these are just Border Patrol Council. And again, these are just reports. The union claiming that illegal immigrant minors are coming into the U.S. with, quote, active scabies and other illnesses, unquote, claiming that one of its agents already has contracted the infection, warning it could spread into surrounding communities if precautions are not taken. Again, that is coming from the National Border Patrol Council. It is unsubstantiated. It is unverified. It is a report that is out there today. We'll check up on this and a whole lot more. Stay with us, because this is MidPoint, where every day on the Newsmax TV network we question everything.
I've always seen No-No on TV, and I always wondered if it worked. And it's definitely, I can see what everybody talks about now.
It's not a razor. It's not a laser. It's No-No from Radiancy, the #1 hair removal system in the world.
It's absolutely no pain.
Can't believe the difference, Al. It's almost hair-free.
No-No gives you no hair with no pain.
Well, I saw it on TV and they said it was painless, right? I didn't really believe it, but now that I'm trying it, it feels completely painless.
And now, No-No is better than ever. Introducing the new No-No Pro. It's up to 35% more powerful. Imagine never having to shave again.
I like a close shave. Absolutely. And this is better than that. I mean, it's gone.
No more facial hair. No more
inches of my hairline, so putting my hair back, this will be perfect for me.
And for that man in your life, there's No-No for him too.
It looks like just like you've got a fresh wax, but like you don't have to go through all the pain.
Call now and we'll send you the cordless No-No Pro in your choice of colors. Featuring an LCD display, it comes with up to 5 treatment levels. Plus, we'll include everything you need to get rid of your unwanted hair. A set of thermocon tips specially designed for your face and body. A buffer pad to exfoliate and polish your skin. Plus, act now and we'll send you the No-No travel case as a free gift. And get this, you can try No-No risk-free for not 30 days, but 60 days with our triple guarantee. If you are not 100% satisfied, return it and we'll refund the purchase price, refund the shipping, and even pay the return postage. Try No-No risk-free today.
I need to get myself one of these right now.
Absolutely.
For your 60-day trial, go to nonopro.com or call 1-800-934-5335. That's 1-800-934-5335.
For those who thought that ISIS would keep Al-Qaeda out of the terrorist conversation for a time, guess again. Plenty of guesswork as to who is really in control in the latest battle between Israel and Hamas, and always guessing what is coming out of the Beltway as the week begins. We begin the final stanza for the fastest 3 hours in news as we question everything from Monday, July 7th, 2014. Also on the dance card, that thinking about a war on women, and one commentator puts the White House narrative in very clear perspective. That and more when we check in on America's Forum and the Steve Malzberg Show, right after John Bachman checks in with the latest edition of Newsmax Now.
A lot of folks are already looking ahead to 2016 and beyond, and one of those might be Senator John McCain. He made a little mistake this past weekend when he responded to a comment from Hillary Clinton that McCain was her favorite Republican on CBS's Face the Nation. Take a look.
I respect her views. We have had disagreements on a number of issues, but I think it's my job to work with every president.
Whoops. Well, McCain went ahead and would prematurely place Hillary in the White House, you just saw there, and said that there was a way to fix issues like the VA by reaching across the aisle to work together. The Republican senator also quickly corrected himself and said that he would do that if Hillary becomes president. And there's a new development in the kidnapping now, those 200 schoolgirls in Nigeria. Officials now say 63 of the abducted teens or young women by Boko Haram have now escaped. Their escape was confirmed by Nigerian military officials over the weekend. The development comes as Nigerian soldiers clashed with the Islamic extremists on Friday, killing more than 50 insurgents. And earlier today, a Nigerian spokesman said that they are still working to find the other girls who still remain missing. Now over to the Middle East, where funerals for 6 members of the Palestinian militant group Hamas were held today, killed in overnight violence. Also in Gaza today, Israeli leaders continue to urge both sides for calm. Officials now say they believe the death of an Arab teen was part of a revenge attack over recent killings of 3 kidnapped Israeli teenagers. A group of men were arrested yesterday in connection with the killing, and now the latest reports from Israel say those suspects have confessed to the murder. As violence continues to escalate in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, an attorney for the suspects says the families are, quote, in shock, as none of the suspects has a history of violent acts. We're back with more news in 30 minutes.
Justice has not been served. They still have a lot of stuff to do. They still have to go through a lot of things. They have to let them know what is right and what's wrong.
Perhaps the most difficult part of the current raging battle between Israel and the Palestinians is for leaders there to get an immediate handle on how to shut down the instinct for immediate revenge. Is that simply possible based on generations of hate and bloodshed? That leads off our discussion into the latest from that portion of the Middle East. Welcome into MidPoint, Washington Bureau Chief of the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, Ron Campius, and journalist and Middle Eastern analyst Jamal Dajani joins us today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Let us go ahead and hopefully we can see you both here in a moment here to make sure that everybody is here. Let me ask you both to start out talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, because they have arrested 6 Jewish suspects who are believed to have burned to death. Let me just back this up here. They have arrested 6 Jewish suspects. They are believed to be complicit in the death of the Arab teenager in revenge for the killing of 3 Israeli teens. Now, we are going back and forth on revenge killings right now. Is it not fair to say that Netanyahu has done exactly the right thing here to have these individuals arrested and at least try to put some sort of stop to this revenge violence and the revenge back and forth that's going on here? Ron, I'm going to go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, I think he did the right thing, but it's also more of a function of a correct society doing the right thing. If there's a murder, you pull out law enforcement, they track down the murderers, and they bring them to justice. The question is whether this is going to contain the cycle that's started, and already you're seeing people rolling back, at least on the Israeli side, they're rolling back their rhetoric, because I think there's a sense across the board, from left to right in Israel, that perhaps after the death of the 3 after the bodies of the 3 kidnapped teenagers were found, that some Israeli politicians might have gone overboard in their rhetoric. And I was speaking to some people in Israel today, were saying maybe that gave the thugs, the murderers who killed this teenager, it might have in their minds given them license to go ahead and do this.
Jamal, let's talk about also not only that issue, but this license to kill, this revenge killing that is going on, because Hamas said on Monday 7 fighters from Rafah in southern Gaza had been killed in Israeli airstrikes. That is in retaliation. They are vowing to avenge the deaths. More than 20 rockets fired from Gaza into southern Israel late Sunday and early Monday. Again, Netanyahu does what he can, but this doesn't seem to have stopped one bit the need for revenge violence.
Look, Hamas basically does not represent the entire Palestinian people. The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas immediately condemned the killing of the 3 Israeli teens, and Hamas, by the way, has not taken responsibility for the killing of the teens, and so the conflict between Israel and Hamas is totally different than what goes on in the West Bank. I mean, we have been seeing negotiations between the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu going on for infinitum without any progress. What we're seeing now is a result of this frustration on the ground. When you talk about the Prime Minister of Israel, sending his condolences to the victim of the recent victim of the Palestinian teen and his family, this is a step in the right direction. However, if you look at what happened in the past just two to 3 weeks, more than 10 Palestinians in the West Bank were killed. The most recent violence happened in front of Ofer prison, where demonstrators, 2 other Palestinian youth, were shot to death, caught on camera, including CNN's camera, and those soldiers who shot them were not brought into justice. So this step now, after these terrorist settlers, basically, or Jewish terrorists who killed and burned this young man alive, were caught on camera by Palestinians, incidentally, while kidnapping him. I think it created a soul searching for the Israelis because, as my colleague mentioned earlier, there was a lot of rhetoric. I mean, you had Israelis marching in the streets, chanting death to the Arabs. You had Israeli lawmakers posting Facebook pages demanding revenge and retaliation against all Palestinians, young children, etc. I think we're going through a very major point, a watershed event, and how it is handled by both sides will determine whether the violence will continue or not, aside from what happens with Hamas or not.
Okay.
Because
Then let me stop you there, but let me deal with this then. What comes down to the two sides here. Is it not fair to say, and certainly some people would say it is fair to say, that whether it's the Israeli side or whether the Palestinians, with Hamas, whomever, it would seem that the leaders have lost a little control over their people. They are trying to quell this, at least Netanyahu certainly is, but then you have revenge killings, and then you have other attacks, and then you have burnings, and then you have all these horrible things that are going on here. It seems to the world as if there are tentacles to these different organizations. The people involved here don't want to be brought down from their need for revenge and their need for violence. Is that fair? I'll throw that out to whoever wants to take that first.
Well, extremists control the agenda. They've controlled the agenda for decades. Violence begets violence. And yes, we have seen on the Palestinian side, people view Mahmoud Abbas as a weak president, someone who has not delivered on the promise for peace. Oslo has been going, the negotiations over Oslo have been going on for decades, and their lives have deteriorated. It has not improved. And I think my colleague will agree, we have not seen a more right-leaning government in Israel like with what we've been seeing today.
Ron, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think in some ways this is probably one of the most right-wing governments. Probably, certainly, maybe in the '80s, in the early '80s, it might have leaned a little further right. It's almost like technical, but yes, it's a right-wing government. But I think what the issue here isn't so much a right-left issue. It's almost an issue of boldness, like Mr. Dejani was saying. The extremists are taking control of the agenda, and you don't have a boldness, and I think on either side in terms of the moderates. You know, the example that came to my mind was in the mid-1990s, a Jordanian soldier killed several 14-year-old girls who were just tourists in Jordan, Israeli tourists in Jordan. And it wasn't just that the Jordanians arrested this man and tried him and put him away for a very long time. King Hussein, the late King Hussein, flew to the town of Bet Shemesh. By a terrible coincidence, that happens that two of the alleged killers are from the same town, Bet Shemesh, and he sat down at the knees of the parents of these girls, and he begged their forgiveness. It was a transformative moment. A very fresh and fragile peace with Israel and Jordan could have collapsed right there. And I think what you need now is something along those lines. You do have, I think at last count, 500 Israelis have signed up to go to the family of this murdered youth, Mohammed Haider, tomorrow and pay their condolences. If you had an Israeli leader, if Benjamin Netanyahu, he made the phone call, but if he went in person and spoke to these people, that might be a transformative moment.
Okay, let's talk transformative moments. I have two sound bites that I want you to hear. First of all, from Shimon Peres, the Israeli president, and then Mark Regev, who is the Israeli government spokesman, talking about their condolences and their feelings and their emotion after what has happened. Shimon Peres is first. All right, I'm told that this is not actually an interview. This is Shimon Peres, who was saying the agony is ours. I can't compare it with the agony of the mother and father, but it's the highest degree of regret and shame because we are the ones that should carry the responsibility for it and not to stop it until we shall end it. Gentlemen, let me ask you, it would seem as if that on the Israeli side there are moments of condolences coming here. that from the Israeli side, the world would seem to guess and would seem to assume, and again, that's always dangerous, that at least the Israelis are trying to quell this. It would seem almost to the world that Abbas not willing to quell this in any shape. They are looking for a fight. They want it. They will, as they even said, open the gates. They will, as they even said, open the gates of hell. That there is no one on the Palestinian side or Hamas to stop this. Jamal, I'm going to go ahead and start with you first. Please react to that.
I think it's an unfair statement because you bring back Hamas, and I said, again, listen to the statement that was issued by the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who immediately condemned the killing of the 3 Israeli teens and offered his condolences. Now, again, if you pay attention to Hamas, you will have the extremists win. Just like if you monitor all the social media, all the rhetoric coming from the extremists on the Israeli side, the calls and the chants, death to the Arabs, we will not move forward. We are not at a stage now where we can repeat the blame game.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you there. 30 seconds in, if you please answer out and respond, Ron.
Yeah, I think it's true. Abbas could always do more. Hamas has never done anything more. Hamas has been terrible throughout all this. Abbas could always do more, but he did more than he's ever done before when last week he went to Jeddah, to Saudi Arabia, in the middle of the Arabic world, and in Arabic he condemned the murders, which is what the Israelis have always asked of him. Not just to do this to the Western world, but to do this in Arabic to the Arabic world. And it can be done, but that I think was a big step.
Gentlemen, it is unfortunate that we have run out of time, and again, we just do want to point out that this continues. This is a story we're going to be following for some time. We will have you back on again very soon because, unfortunately, I fear that we have not seen the end of the violence right now between these two countries this time around. Thank you very much, Jamal Dajani, and also Ron Campius for joining us today on MidPoint.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it is worth to say again, as we had reported early, in case you had missed the report, that according to Hamas, 7 of its fighters from southern Gaza had been killed in Israeli airstrikes. Those are its heaviest losses in months. They have vowed to avenge their deaths, warning on its website that the Zionist enemy will pay a heavy price, and that is a quote unquote. It's interesting to note that, as Jamal says, you need to separate Hamas from the Palestinians. And this, of course, is something which is always part of the discussion. Our discussion continues here on the Newsmax TV network. As we continue, you tell us what you think, we will respond as well. This is MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site.
On DealDash, I got this $349 mixer for less than $25.
iPads sell for as little as $5, laptops for $10, and professional cameras for as little as $20.
I won this iPhone for $8.48 at DealDash.com.
I got all this for less than $50 on DealDash.com.
Try DealDash today. If you don't win, get your money back, but hurry, everything must go. Go to DealDash.com now to start bidding.
In my first 4 months on DealDash, I won 104 auctions.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
Attention, catheter patients on Medicare.
I use catheters, and if you do too, please listen carefully. There is a new catheter that hurts less, and you can get a free sample by calling this number now.
Pain and urinary tract infections have been avoided by many of my patients. These new disposable catheters hurt less. It's an incredible new design that reduces pain. The easily and effortlessly across your sensitive skin. The old catheters would scrape and cut, causing pain and infections.
These new catheters are totally different, so smooth and painless. They changed my life.
Call now and get a free sample. Medicare and your insurance will pay for up to 200 of these catheters per month, all at little or no cost to you.
Call now for your free sample. It will arrive with a complete 90-day order, and if it doesn't reduce your pain, we'll pick them up for free. Call 800-259-1759.
Now on Newsmax TV, does Ben Carson have a chance in 2016? Watch Newsmax TV on the Malsberg Show today and find out Dr. Carson's secret plan to win and how he can stop Hillary Clinton. Go now to Newsmax TV.
There's been concern for a number of months about al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, and their master bomb maker constantly updating their bombs to get past current security screening. There was a vulnerability discovered, I'm told, by intelligence officials in the last several weeks, and the DHS was then directed to address that vulnerability, and that's what they're doing right now by enhancing security at these airports.
All right, just when you thought it was safe to maybe think about leaving your shoes on, sometimes when getting on a commercial airliner, al-Qaeda has new ideas. And then we have another moment of hard truth when it comes to the battle in Iraq and what may be the toughest and most fierce battle that still lies ahead. Welcome into MidPoint, Professor of Law at St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas, and Director of the Center for Terrorism Law, also at that school. Jeffrey Adicott joins us today. Jeffrey, thank you so much for being here on MidPoint.
Oh, my pleasure.
Jeffrey, is there any shock whatsoever that we are now hearing that cell phones are going to be scrutinized by the TSA because apparently they want to make sure the batteries work, make sure that there's not a bomb in there? But isn't it really fair to say no shock because it's just another example of how al-Qaeda and the folks who are at work in Yemen specifically will just exploit every little thing they can to find a way to get to us again?
Well, it is. It's a cat and mouse game, and we've seen with airport security, when we get a specific threat from al-Qaeda, we tend to react to that. So, for example, Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, everybody takes their shoes off. The liquid attacks across the, from Europe to the United States, then we had the bottle restrictions. So we're always reacting to what we think al-Qaeda is going to do or what they've done.
You say we're always reacting, though. What about being proactive? Because isn't it a little bit better, and shouldn't our intelligence be keeping us a step ahead of the game?
Well, you would think, and that's, we say here in Texas, you lean forward in the saddle. And that costs money because, 9/11, for example, the 9/11 Commission said somebody should have thought about putting locking doors on the airplane so you can't get in and cut the pilot's throat. But, of course, they thought about it, but it cost $7,000 a door to replace those doors, so they didn't do it. So we're always in a reaction phase, but the truth is that they're going to be they are going to be able to get through our security no matter what we do, because it's not a perfect world, and we don't want to spook the herd. TSA doesn't want to spook the herd, so we do these things. A lot of them are basically feel good because there are hundreds of ways that you can get through the current security. There are new types of weapons that can be used, that can be developed, and there's only so much we can do. My general idea is stop them before they get to the airport. As you said, that's intelligence. I don't want to stop them at the airport. I want to stop them before they get to the airport, before they get to the Boston Marathon. All
right. There you go. Let's start right there, because you even just said the words, and I wrote them down here. You said it was a feel-good. Unfortunately, the feel-goods don't do us any good when they actually come back and snap at us and kill people here. So knowing full well that we need to get away from the feel-goods, what needs to be done to stop this incessant roses at the feet idea that everything's wonderful and we're actually finding who the terrorists are and what they're getting to us and actually doing something about it before we have to react like this?
Yeah, well, that's intelligence. We need intelligence, but of course we've had some glitches with our intelligence community. A lot of critique about the NSA and what they're doing and how they gather intelligence. So it's the balance between increased security and the need for privacy. But again, our system at the ports, for example, really check about 5% of the actual containers that come into the ports. We simply can't do it. Now, we could do a better job with the airline industry if we followed the Israeli model. And that is, they find out who is getting on that airplane, where you are. They do background checks long before people board that aircraft. They know who you are, where you're from, what you're doing. And then, of course, then they have people that do the pat-down, and they have extra levels of security. And it works over there. And so it can be done here, but it requires smarter, better, more resources, and so that's the issue. But we, like most humans, we react. We react to things. So if it hasn't happened yet, we're not going to do anything.
There's two great words you just put in there, smarter and better. Americans always think we are smarter and better than everybody else, but we're not, are we?
Well, relative to the rest of the world, basically we are smarter and better. The one exception being the Israelis, because they have to. They live in a stamp-sized, postage stamp-sized nation, and everybody around them wants to kill them, 10 ways to Sunday. So they have to engage in that type of activity. But no, the U.S., we obviously lead the world in technology. We've developed the internet. We do all these things. But again, we're dealing with a bureaucracy, rather. And the TSA, as many people joke, it stands for thousands standing around. And there are smarter ways to do it. Anytime you have a government agency that's involved in working things, as most people have kind of figured it out, you have problems, you have issues, and so perhaps privatization to some degree might be one of the solutions.
Two things here come to mind immediately, and I think of Syria and Yemen, because certainly a lot of times we see where al-Qaeda, bomb makers, and certain people are coming out of, they are usually coming out of those regions. Do we need then to increase our intelligence in those regions? What could we do there? Because you properly mentioned the fact, try to get to them before they are actually getting to us here. So what could we be doing on the ground in those two countries? And are we doing enough, at least, to try and find out what's happening there at the source?
Well, no, it's been a disaster. I mean, anybody that really has a clear view of what's happening in the Middle East knows that this administration has totally failed in terms of projecting our power over there to try to form some type of a pivot to increase our intelligence assets. We have been very unfriendly towards our best ally, which is Israel. Iraq was supposed to be an area where we could set up as a headquarters, so to speak, in the middle of the Middle East, a quasi-democracy where we could have cooperation, and from there we could go out and kind of get some of this intelligence. But that's been a total failure. President Obama pulled everything out of Iraq. We have no intelligence there anymore. Syria is a disaster. Libya, of course, is far worse now than it was under the dictator Gaddafi. Afghanistan is about ready to go back into the pit where it came from. So no, Al-Qaeda Central is on the rise, is growing, and the jihadists that are inspired by this radical Islamic extremism, both here and abroad, are growing in numbers. It's a growing threat, and yet we still have our head in the sand, and we kind of wish it will go away. We don't want to address the issue, and that's part of the issue that I find at fault with this administration. They simply don't take the threat seriously. They're schizophrenic when they do, and it's Band-Aid after Band-Aid, and nothing really is being done.
Is it fair to say that after all those Band-Aids that have been placed on all of these intelligence needs over the years, that in places like Iraq and Iran, other places like this, the real trouble spots, but specifically when you look at what's happening in Iraq right now, all those Band-Aids have finally caught up to us that we simply, and if you hate to say this, but is it possible that we as an intelligence community and the intelligence community themselves have been so hamstrung that we really don't have a proper handle on what's going on over there at any given time?
No, we don't. And one example, Abu Talib, the underwear bomber, 2009 Christmas Day, he was going to blow up that plane over Detroit. His dad went to the State Department, the embassy there in Nigeria, and said, hey, my son's radical Islamic extremist, you need to watch him. He was on a watch list. He didn't have proper credentials when he boarded the plane. No communication between the embassy and the FBI, misspelled on his name, all sorts of disasters that allowed that attack almost to go off. The Boston attack, somebody misspelled the name, and so we didn't know that he went over to Russia to get the training and come back, even though he was on our list to watch. So we have human error. Obviously, we can't do a perfect job, but a better job needs to be done in coordination, and it starts at the top. The Obama administration at the very top has to really emphasize the danger, and yet they wish it away. Here in Texas, Hassan is workplace violence. Really, the number one threat facing the nation is not right-wing extremists, not left-wing extremists, or radical Islamic extremism. It's on the rise. It's growing, and we better take it more seriously.
When you talk about it growing, I have about a minute and a half left right here. 2 girls in Britain tried to fly to Syria to join the ISIS fight, and the British authorities managed to stop them, but they did apparently get away, and they did apparently wind up in Syria. We have a young lady in Colorado who is also found, who is going to head to help ISIS. Are we missing out on maybe one of the biggest issues here, that the next attack is going to come right here from young people like this because they're falling for this so easily?
Well, of Of course it is. It already did. I mean, Boston, about a year ago, we had young people engaging in jihad. So yes, the threat is real, it's growing, and yet we are saddled with the virus of political correctness. Nobody wants to admit that we have the problem, and the first step toward solving the problem is to admit that the problem exists. This administration almost never says radical Islamic extremism, particularly when in the context of homegrown jihadists. They simply wish it would go away. At the FBI Academy, for example, they have to vet information that they teach the agents to in the mob so they don't offend anybody's sensibilities. It's ridiculous.
Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott, I want to thank you so much for giving us a couple of words here, but unfortunately I think it's going to make us all sleep a little bit lighter here at night. I thank you for your time. We will do this again, my friend.
My pleasure.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Adicott joining us. I do just want to correct this one story. The two girls in Britain, twin sisters, they did travel to Syria via Istanbul, joined their brother in fighting with militants from ISIS. According to the media reports in Sunday in London, the family was Somali origin, believed to have moved to Britain 10 years ago. Now they have gone back, and they have joined the fight against their own country and against freedom as well. Stick around. This is MidPoint, where every single day on the Newsmax TV network, we question everything.
How long have you had your car insurance?
How long have I had my car insurance? I don't know, 8, 10 years?
I couldn't tell you, but things were a lot less expensive back then. If you're 50 or over, you should take a new look at your auto insurance. You may be overpaying.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Old policy, old rates.
And thanks to your experience behind the wheel, you might save $404 by switching to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford. Plus, you'll get benefits that reward your driving record, like our promise that you won't be dropped.
Wait, you won't drop me? Seriously?
That's right, you won't be dropped. And if you know anyone who's been dropped by their insurance company, you know that's a hassle you don't need.
Especially these days.
Plus, you'll get Recover Care, which helps pay for everyday needs like house cleaning, lawn care, and pet services if you're injured in an accident.
So my auto insurance is going to help pay the house cleaning if I'm injured?
Did you say lawn care?
And if I can't walk my dog, they'll help me pay someone to do it for me.
Call the number on your screen to switch to the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford and be rewarded for your experience behind the wheel.
Recover Care, auto insurance that helps take care of me. Now I've seen it all.
You won't drop me, you take care of me as well as my car, and you offer savings to switch. It's unbelievable.
If you're 50 or over, call now to request your free quote.
I'm gonna call.
I'm calling.
I'm calling.
I'm calling.
Call the Hartford at the number on your screen to request your free quote. 1-888-529-1797. We'll even send you this free calculator. Call 1-888-529-1797 now. Why wait?
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Welcome back, I'm Francesca Page and here's your Newsmax Now update. Prosecutors say the Boston Marathon bomber told his friend and alleged accomplice that martyrs go straight to heaven. Sarnev's college friend was in court today accused of taking evidence from Sarnev's dorm shortly after the explosion. He is one of the 3 University of Massachusetts Dartmouth students accused of interfering with the investigation. Prosecutors say Sarnev's friend knew about the terror plot hours before the FBI released the names of the suspects. If convicted, the 20-year-old could face up to 25 years in prison. He has pleaded not guilty to obstruction and conspiracy charges. Sarnev, the main suspect accused of carrying out the bombing, is expected to go on trial later this year in November. And earlier today, we told you about an earthquake that shook up southern areas of Mexico. And now we have footage of some of the devastation it caused. The latest reports say 4 people died as a result of the 6.9 magnitude earthquake. Buildings were damaged, storefront windows were shattered, and thousands of people were left without power. Local TV anchors swayed back and forth as the quake rocked their set. We'll keep you updated as we get new reports throughout the day. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to MidPoint.
There is a thinking process out in the mist that Mitt Romney may be considering, or may be asked to consider, another run at the White House. And the individual currently in that abode is, in the opinion of at least one person, still hacking away at the myth of women being paid less than men. Let's hear the words, then, from our sister shows, America's Forum and, of course, the Steve Malzberg Show. First of all, let's bring you what happened on America's Forum this morning. J.D. Hayworth talking to Boston Herald columnist Howie Carr. And the question again comes up about Mitt Romney. Now, if you've been reading the reports, you will find out and you will know that there's a discussion process. And Mitt Romney may be either thinking about running for president again, or there may be those in the Republican Party who want him to run again. Depends, of course, on exactly where you're hearing it from. Well, as far as Howie Carr is concerned, Mitt Romney, in his opinion, has been completely vindicated for all of his thoughts on foreign policy back in 2012. So if indeed he does consider running for president, what he talked about then about foreign policy is not something that his opponents can use against him.
You heard Mitt Romney saying, watch out for Russia. He was mocked. That was 2012. Now it's 2014. It seems that he was a prophet without votes in 2012. As you take a look at it today, was Romney right?
I guess, as you recall, Jay, Obama's mocking reply was the 80s just called, Governor, and they want their foreign policy back. I think the 80s are now knocking even harder at the door, asking for their foreign policy back. Yes, I think Mitt Romney has been proven to be prescient. And the fact that he tried haltingly and not very successfully to make an issue of Benghazi. I mean, again, I think he was right to try to do that as badly as he handled it.
Also, there's more discussion about what is happening in the White House with the gentleman who currently resides there, and that, of course, is Barack Obama. Ed Morrissey is the senior editor and featured columnist at hotair.com. Last week, he joined Steve Malzberg on the Steve Malzberg Show. The discussion here was about what some people still consider to be the myth that women are being paid less than men. Depends, of course, on which number you're looking at, depends on which study you're looking at, depends, of course, on who is doing the commenting on this. But Ed Morrissey believes, as he and many others do, that this is indeed just a myth.
What they're not comparing is actual jobs. When you get down to actual jobs, hours worked, the commitment to a particular career, and personal choice as to which career you want to work in, the actual difference is less than 5 cents on the dollar. And even that is probably explainable in terms of things like taking time out for raising families and that sort of thing. Those are all personal choices that men and women both make in terms of their careers. And so this idea that there's this huge pay disparity that requires government intervention is simply a myth. And what really makes this annoying is that the White House wants to use a different measure for pay equity for themselves, strictly at the White House, than they are applying to the rest of the country.
Those are our sister shows, and here's a reminder of the schedule. And make sure that you catch every show, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, every day, Monday through Friday. J.D. Hayworth is here, politics and a whole lot more on America's Forum. We then kick in here right at noon Eastern Time until 3 o'clock Eastern with MidPoint, where, of course, we question everything. And then 3 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday Eastern Time, it is the Steve Malzberg Show. Now, here's Dr. Chauncey Crandall with this Medical Minute.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
I've got a small business, and everybody said you should be promoting it with Facebook.
Well, I use Facebook for myself, but I had no idea how to use it for my plumbing business.
Then I heard about web.com.
They told me they would build a professional Facebook page for my business free.
So I gave them a call.
And then they built me a Facebook page for free. I couldn't believe it.
If you call web.com now, you can have a new Facebook page built for your small business free. We even write posts for your Facebook page that will get people talking about you.
It's like I have this whole big social media department for my business.
Call now and web.com will build your new Facebook page free. Then we'll continue to bring you new fans, write posts for you, and report on results, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
Now people call me and say, I found you on Facebook. How cool is that?
You say it, we build it free.
Call 1-855-235-7998 today.
Imagine being able to clear your breakouts fast with a revolutionary new acne treatment that's actually good for your skin. Announcing all new Proactive Plus, the combination of acne medicine plus ultra perfecting skincare. Television star Kristen Ritter calls it a miracle.
I love the new Proactive Plus. It's fighting all my breakouts, and my skin is like porcelain.
The results are astonishing. Your skin is not only clear, but smooth and sexy. It's our smartest, fastest, most effective solution ever. And now, new skincare is in every step to balance acne-prone skin with needed hydration and more.
I have to tell you this is different. Just look at my before and after pictures. That doesn't lie.
So grab your phone and dial the number on your screen now, because today shipping is free. And get 3 free gifts, a $96 value for just $29.95. Call now.
You will love your skin.
Hi, my name is John Bachman. I'm 34 years old, and I'm an anchor at Newsmax TV, and there's no place else I'd rather be. There is so much gloom and doom out there right now. People want to talk about problems, but that's changing. The conversation is changing. People want to talk now about solutions, and that is what Newsmax offers. I mean, if there's somebody who is going to contribute something to the conversation, we're going to try to talk to them.
Congress is back in session. Congress is back in session. Let the trumpets blare and the huzzahs sound in unison. All's well inside the Beltway. And if you're falling for that, we need to have a discussion about reality. The gentleman, ladies, indeed back. The president's back at work. Whether anything will get done is always another story. Welcome back from inside that Beltway. Newsmax D.C. correspondent, man about town, bon vivant, John Gizzi joins us today. Just back fresh from the White House, young man. Welcome in. And by the way, did you have a nice 4th of July?
I had a very happy 4th, and then I went to watch our Nats
beat the Chicago Cubs 13-0 Saturday. Doesn't get any better than that.
As long as you don't play my Red Sox, as long as you don't beat my Red Sox, everything's okay. We'll take it from there.
Stay on good terms.
All right. Well, let's see. The president is back. I know you're just back from the White House, and I'm certain that the questions about his trip to Texas never once talked about the fact that he's not actually going to go to the border.
That dominated the lion's share of the questions at the White House. When you subtract the questions about the revelations of greater eavesdropping in Germany, it was pretty much an immigration day or border day. The president will be going to Texas exclusively to raise money for Democratic candidates. But repeatedly he was asked, or his spokesman Josh Earnest was asked, why not just hop a flight over and see the situation on the border firsthand? My colleague George Condon of National Journal said, isn't the president worried about the optics of this? In other words, that he's in the state for political purposes, but he can't go to the border where the news is being dominated by talk of people coming over illegally, children being separated from their parents, and the like. And Josh Earnest said that the president doesn't need to know because he's been apprised of the situation. As one who covered President Bush in 2005 during Katrina and heard all the criticism that he wasn't on the ground in time and still remembers the photo of him looking down from Air Force One, I'd say optics are a pretty important situation for a president, particularly when it's a crisis.
It seems as if now we have one of those grand new phrases that's going to walk into the White House's answering of a lot of things, John, the optics of the incidents. I will tell you that before you came on, I was reading the stories and following them during the day, and I saw that they weren't worried about the optics, and I'm thinking, oh, marvelous. Now we basically have another excuse here. It doesn't seem to hold water with the American people, and I'm guessing it doesn't really hold water with the press that's there as well, with the majority of them wondering why this simply can't be done.
Well, call it optics, call it perception, call it imagery. The president does not look good when he's not on the scene at a time of a crisis. George W. Bush learned this the hard way. Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan understood this. They were always there whenever there was a flood, just to be the consoler in chief. President Obama has not learned that, but I have a feeling he will in a short time. In any event, the press certainly feels that way, and one can only sense that just simply by sitting in the James Brady briefing room.
Is there any sense what will come this week? Because certainly now the president is going to have a chance to talk with Congress, and he's going to push his $2 billion needed to help alleviate what is happening in the border between America and Mexico right now. Is there any sense of what will happen between the two sides now as they start to hammer this out?
Well, I would say Republicans on the Hill, and certainly Bob Goodlatte, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, believe that the situation on the border now makes a strong case for the argument they've made all along. Secure the border. Have border security first, and then deal with the other problems that are involved in the immigration crisis. In other words, get the most critical matter out of the way, something that's as dramatic as tomorrow's headlines, and then incrementally deal with the others, not just try to do it comprehensively, as the White House has long insisted.
Let's talk a little bit about spying in Germany, because we thought perhaps that this might have gone away, or at least been silenced for a little while. But now there seems to be more discussion about how much again, talking to Chancellor Merkel. Where is this all now, and what's the storyline running here between Germany, America, and a little more spying?
President Obama did have a conversation with Chancellor Merkel on Thursday, according to Press Secretary Josh Earnest. On Friday, there were published reports of even greater spying in Germany, which Mr. Earnest called today an incredibly important ally of the United States. I've certainly seen the last meeting when Chancellor Merkel was out in the Rose Garden with President Obama, and they did their utmost to say that the revelations of Edward Snowden were behind them and they were moving along. I have a feeling they may have to do a makeover on this, or a do-over, sooner rather than later.
Let's head for Mississippi now, and the the fight that's going on now. Chris McDaniel does not seem to be willing to back down at all in his fight against Thad Cochran.
No, he isn't. And I talked to his spokesman at length on Thursday, Noel Fritsch, who said that they have come up with nearly 5,000 irregularities. That is, people who voted in the Democratic primary and then came over to vote in the Republican runoff, which is against the law in the Magnolia State. Senator Cochran was nominated by an unofficial 6,700 votes, and Senator McDaniel, State Senator McDaniel, has yet to concede. What his spokesman said he wants is for courts to look at a fraudulent election and order a new primary. The problem with this is it's not as easy as it sounds, and history is against it. In most cases, going back to Lyndon Johnson's win by 87 votes out of 900-some thousand cast in 1948, when he first won the Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate in Texas, courts generally say a party primary is the business of a private entity, political party. It's not a general election. Secretaries of state don't want to touch it, and they usually say they're not going to void results of primary, and certainly not order a new election. I'd have to say that Mr. McDaniel has a tall order ahead of him, and I speak as a student of history.
And a student of history will take that every single time and twice on Sunday. Mr. Gizzi, always a pleasure, or I should say John. I know that Mr. Gizzi, of course, we've already gone well past that. So, John, thank you.
That's my father, and he's 93.
It's the same thing. You and I are from that generation where if you say Mr. Berliner, I goes, my dad here? Always happens. It's exactly the same thing. John, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll talk to you again later on this week.
I'm looking forward to it. Take care, Ed.
All right, take care. And a reminder again, don't forget to catch what John Gizzi has got to say on the Newsmax website, the mothership, newsmax.com. You can read all of his columns there as well. And then John joins us a couple of times a week, tells us what's happening inside the Beltway. Yeah, and by the way, John Boehner, when the president said, so sue me about John Boehner suing him, John Boehner has fired back saying that the comments are utterly beneath the dignity of the office. And the beat goes on inside the Beltway. Stick around. We're right back with more right here on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.
Can you really lose weight without changing your lifestyle? LaToya Q did. In fact, in just 5 months, she lost nearly 2 pounds a week without changing the way she dieted or exercised.
I lost 36 pounds and I went down 4 dress sizes.
Like so many people, LaToya didn't want to change her lifestyle to lose weight. Instead, she decided to take America's #1 selling diet pill, Lipozene.
People kept asking me, you have to be exercising. You're really you just don't want to tell us what you're doing. I was like, no, I don't have time to go to a gym. I just took Lipozene and I started seeing results immediately.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. And to prove it, we conducted our very own double-blind clinical study where all we asked people to do was take Lipozene. And by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. These people were not asked to change their diet or exercise. And 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat. Not water, fat.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
And for even faster results, you can try Lipozene with moderate diet and exercise.
Feels great to have a six-pack. I didn't think I would have it at my age.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist and I lost 2 dress sizes, and I feel amazing.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
Lipozene, it works.
But wait. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free. But you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
Call 1-800-509-9436. That's 1-800-509-9436.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Are you struggling to make ends meet because you owe more in taxes than you can afford to pay?
The IRS is relentless and will collect from you. They can garnish your wages or place a levy on your bank account. You have rights, and you can stop them by calling the tax resolvers.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now, and we will contact the IRS on your behalf. Help you end wage garnishment, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, resolve tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify.
It's a free call and a free consultation, but we can only help if you pick up the phone and dial the number below.
You wouldn't fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you resolve your IRS problems.
Call the Tax Resolvers at 800-489-3480.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Almost done here at MidPoint. Let's head for New York City right now. Steve Malzberg's sitting by. He's going to bring you the Steve Malzberg Show moments from now. Of course, sitting in the one place that still has the best fireworks every year. I have to tell you, Steve went away for 4th of July, saw the fireworks, but still had to get home. Had to DVR the big New York City show. Just awesome every year. I'll take it over everybody else's.
Yeah, would you take it over soccer?
You just won't let it go, will you? You just...
You know, I got to tell you, I'm doing a Gimme 5 today. I mean, the president called 2 of the players and how great they were. Oh, fantastic. You're wonderful. You're great. They won 1 game out of 4. 1 game out of 4. I mean, I know we give medals and trophies to every Little League kid that puts on a uniform now, but we're extending it to this level as well. And then on the 4th of July, the president's weekly radio, or they used to call it radio address, now it's a video. He gives his 4th of July message, and before he thanks the troops on the 4th of July, he thanks the soccer team. I mean, you really got to be kidding me.
All right, now, there are those who would say, wait a minute, I'll play the other side of this, that he thanked the troops last, that was his last thing to get it out of the way.
No.
You don't go for that.
There's no, he started his 4th of July address thanking a soccer team that won 1 game out of 4. Give me a break.
However, they did make the round of 16, you soccer hater.
Yeah, by losing.
Steve, I do know what I'm getting you for Christmas, by the way. We're getting you an entire soccer outfit. We're going to get you the soccer jersey. We're going to get you soccer shorts. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you right now, I'll pay $100 to see Steve Malzberg do his show completely dressed in a New York soccer outfit. And I mean cleats. I'll give the $100 to charity somewhere.
Right.
I want you to do the whole show dressed as a New York, as an American soccer player.
If you clear it with Chris Ruddy, I'll do it.
Okay, everybody here has heard this right now. I'm calling the boss. We're going to get this done. I want to see you, the whole thing, the jersey. We want to see that manly physique of Steve Malzberg there.
Although, you know what? I
won.
I won. I mean, in other words, I was vindicated. You were the one holding out that this was some great team and soccer is such a big sport.
I never said it was a great
vindicated.
team. I never said that. Don't put words in my mouth. I said it was the American national team, and it was worth everybody getting on the bandwagon for. That's what we do for American teams. You don't have to love soccer. You don't have to go to MLS games. You don't have to be a dyed-in-the-wool fan. But because it's an American team and our guys and gals, you root for them, you get excited, and then when it's over, we go back to being Americans. That's what I said. Nothing wrong with that.
Except if you're the president of the United States. Except if you're the president. When it's over, no matter how poorly they performed, you treat them like they're going to get a ticker tape parade down Broadway.
I am going to have Steve Malzberg also host a soccer game. We're going to get him to a soccer game. I'm going to have him. He and I will do the play-by-play of this. All right, but the one thing the president did do that I think we can both agree on is at his press conference today, he is going to go to Texas. He's going to raise money, but he won't spend any time being on the ground and going to see the problem that's happening at the border. I just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's obscene is what it is. you know, he doesn't have time for that kind of thing, but as you said, he's going to raise money. But he's above it all. He doesn't care anymore. You know, if you look at poll after poll after poll on issue after issue, the American people are against him. Yet he talks about every issue as if he's got the public on his side. And he's going to keep signing these executive orders and selectively enforcing laws that are established, whether anybody likes it or not. So why should he go to the border? What does he care?
Yeah, it is very insulting. One other thing, too, in Israel, constantly going back and forth, Hamas and Israel, more missiles being fired overnight, more deaths here right now. You would have to say at least Benjamin Netanyahu seems to be doing the right thing to try and at least calm this down just a little.
Well, there's nothing to calm down. I mean, the issue of rockets being fired into a sovereign country, I don't think he's doing near enough to protect his country. He should wipe out Hamas however necessary, just like I would hope we would wipe out anybody lobbing missiles into Texas or Michigan or anywhere else, or Maine or wherever the heck they're being lobbed into. Secondly, yes, the difference between Israeli society and Palestinian society is the people who murdered the Palestinian teen will not be treated as heroes and martyrs and given a soccer stadium named after them. They'll rot in prison where they belong.
There you go. Steve Molsberg Show coming up next right here on the Newsmax TV network. Thank you, partner. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, don't forget, that comes up every day following us right here. And, of course, don't forget America's Forum starts today, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on the Newsmax TV network. Here it is. Rock on, true believers. Thank you so much for joining us. We're back again tomorrow with MidPoint, where every day we question everything.